just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And I tell you what, this weekend has been phenomenal. The Olympics are here, and let's just start the show off in a massive positive. A massive positive. First of all, congratulations to all our Olympians for getting selected, going over there. Behind me, I'm not sure if you can see it, we've got the medal tally. That's right. We've got 4 gold, 2 silver, and 0 bronze. As a matter of fact, I think day one was our most successful medal tally run ever, day one. And overnight, so obviously you had the wins on, was it Sunday morning? They got the wins in the swim, but also in the cycling. So massive congratulations to the winners there, which obviously Titmus. Then there was also Grace Brown, who won the cycling. Got it all here. Anyway, you guys know who won. Now, overnight though, Jessica Fox, she wins a gold medal in the women's kayak single final. The Rugby Sevens women's have won both of their matches. Massive congratulations to the Rugby Sevens men's, who got their deepest, went the deepest they've ever gone, which is 4th. Who else? The Matildas, they went down 3-0 to Germany. Then they came back from 5-2 down to beat Zambia. But to be honest, that's even though they got the win, pretty poor result from the Matildas. And at the moment, their form has been pretty poor. But hopefully they can turn it around. Anyway, check our Instagram for all the results, guys. Massive congratulations to everyone over at the Olympics, but it's been an absolute pleasure to watch. The Roop, how you been, bros?
Good, mate. How good's Jess Fox?
Unbelievable. What a journey to getting that gold medal. London, silver, Rio, bronze, Tokyo, bronze, and then Paris, gold.
Yeah, I didn't realise it had gone back that far. But when she won, I thought, fuck, I feel like this girl's been part of my life for 15 years. It's crazy. And to see the journey she's gone on, incredible.
Timmy, how you been, mate?
Been good, mate. Missed last week, so fresh up from a spell, feeling good, feeling happy and merry, and just great to see these champion Aussie athletes rewarded for their heroic efforts over in Paris and getting their gold medals. I'm a bit disappointed, though, to be honest, boys. Sort of walking in here today, I expected after breaking bloke in a bar tipping records last week, smashing him out of the park. There might be a bit more song and dance, maybe a red carpet, a crown, a cape, a trophy. It's just something.
Yeah, if you had it turned up, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
maybe
look,
do your job,
it's just been
the slogan of bloke, turn up.
Just been silent since I walked in off the back of it. So look, it is what it is, and I won't expect anything in the future.
Hammy, how you going, brother?
Very well. Big weekend of great athletic achievements. You've touched on a few of them, but you're actually talking to the Strong Pilates Alexandria Member of the Month as well. No big deal. Stop bringing it up. Announced on Saturday morning. So a very exciting weekend in the Goodman household. And it hasn't just been me from the panel who's been involved in some amazing athletic performances over the weekend. Shout out to Matty the water boy for jumping in the pool in his budgies and saving that swimming cap in the pool over the weekend. You see the clip? See the clip going around?
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yep.
Shout out. I mean, quick to get all the way over there and back again for Monday's show. Respect.
Great commitment.
Unlike Timmy. Timmy would have been gone for 3 months.
That's a standard.
So, Ariana Titmus, she had the gold in the women's 400 freestyle. Women's 4x1, they also got gold. Elijah Winnington, silver in the men's 400 freestyle. Then you've got silver for the men's in the 4x1. A massive shout out to our men's hockey. They got a win over Argentina, the Kookaburras. Our women's, they got a win over South Africa, and also the Boomers got a win over Spain. And I think it's the first time they've beaten Spain in 22 years. So guys, stay tuned on the Bloke Instagram or Facebook. We'll keep you up to date. We've got the tally behind us. That's 4 gold already. 4 gold, 2 silver. You're kidding. So get it behind our athletes. Get behind our athletes. Roo in the great green and gold. Oh, don't forget, we've sold out of all the green and gold. The spray jackets, the hoodies, the hats. We have just a few T-shirts left. But Roo, tonight, 6 p.m, what do you got, mate?
Yeah, we got these hats dropping. They've been done through League Lids. So you'll see all the links on my socials, 6 p.m. tonight, leaguelids.com. They'll be going live. Love these ones, Kempy.
There you go. Alrighty. Grab a case of bloke beer from your local beer for blokes to turn up for family, mates, and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. But let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into a bit of Face the Music, brought to you by our friends at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Let's get straight into it.
Let's do it. Now, the Bloke in a Bar Comedy Festival has come to a conclusion that there'll be no joke punishments from this week. We're looking for some punishments that are a little bit more longer lasting. Maybe we get the cumulative totals and people have got to do something at the end of the season. Let us know in the comments. What would you like to see each of us do? You can tailor them to people on the panel. Maybe for Roo, for example, we get him to mascot a game for the Roosters in the Roosters mascot kit. Maybe Timmy turns up to a Monday show after a big weekend. You can tailor them to various people on the panel. So, but I did want to give everybody the opportunity. Is there like a little boundary you want to set yourself? Is there a line that you won't cross for the sake of punishment?
No ingesting of strange objects into my body.
Yeah.
Whether it be in my mouth or anywhere else.
Yeah. No, you've eaten liver before.
Hey?
You've eaten liver before.
That is true.
That's off the table.
That is true.
Been there,
But that's
done
off the table because I need to save up the magic around eating liver again. And
Yep.
I can't be eating other things.
Yep.
Nothing really comes to mind for me. Maybe avoid a Roosters jersey for the
Okay.
sake of content.
Yep.
I'll do most things, mate. I'm not singing into this microphone because it'll scar the listeners. It'll go viral. It's just it can't end well.
No singing. Okay, Matty.
I won't be singing either. Definitely not singing.
Okay, that's fair. For me, no shaving the beard off the face. When you've got a face like mine, you need to cover it in as much hair and glasses as possible.
So we've pretty much ruled out every single punishment possible.
So there's a few parameters there, folks, but do your best in the comments if there's anything else that comes to mind. All right, let's get through them. This week's results and see where we are at. So the Friday night game, Warriors 28 defeat the Tigers 16. 13.5 was the line. It was a tough but not unexpected watch, this one, especially for me, who took the Tigers. 2 points for Roo, Denon and Matty, who had the Warriors winning but the Tigers covering. 1 point for Timmy, who had the Warriors winning head-to-head. Thanks also to Timmy, even though he wasn't here, said through all his tips. So credit where it's due.
Credit to him. Credit to him.
Thanks, boys.
All right, then we've got the Eels 14 defeated by the Storm 32. Points all round. Everyone took the Storm head-to-head. Guru, Matty and myself took them to cover the 15.5 points as well for 2 points. Big result there for the Storm. Broncos 16 defeated by Dogs 41. Everyone here took the Broncos head-to-head, except a couple of us saw a little bit. The 6.5 start was, for me, one of the bets of the year, to be honest, the way that the Dogs have been going. Roo, Timmy and myself, we all had the Dogs with the plus 6.5, so we get the 1 point there. On to Saturday, Cowboys 30 defeat Sharks 22. Matty smelt a bit of Burley in the water. He took the Sharks, so no points for him. Everyone else had the Cowboys to win and to cover for 2 points. Chooks 34 defeat Manly 30, one of the games of the year, this one. I took Manly, got robbed, obviously. Roo picked it like a dirty nose. He had the Roosters to win and Manly with the plus 6.5. Everyone else just had the Roosters for 1 point. Dargans 10 defeated by the Panthers 46. Line was only 10.5 points here. Kempy and Timmy took the Panthers to win and cover, 2 points there. Everyone else had the Panthers head-to-head, Dragons to cover for 1 point.
Not a bad tipping week this week for us.
Good
boys.
week. Yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Fish 14 were defeated by the Titans 21. Guru, with one of the cleanest noses of the season, picked this one beautifully as well. Titans in an upset head-to-head, the only one who took it. Timmy was the only other person on the panel who took the Titans with the start for 1 point. Then we've got the Milk 32 defeat the Bunnies 12. Dan and Timmy and myself, we all had Canberra to win and cover the 3.5 for 2. Roo and Matty had the Bunnies, which was wrong. So, round 21 results. Roo, well done, 12 points. Beautifully clean nose there as well. Timmy, 11 points for you. Denon, the only other panellist in double figures with 10. Myself, 8. Matty defending his title 2 in a row on the bottom of the ladder with 6 points. So,
6 points.
yeah,
Holy.
disgraceful. So let us know in the comments what would you like to see us do, and we'll put them on the line. I'll accrue all the points as well, and we'll see where we're at.
And hopefully, whether it's leading to finals or next year, we'll have a much more robust potential face the music that the community can get involved
Yeah,
in.
big plans.
So hopefully the community can get involved in either towards finals footy or next year to get everyone involved in face the music.
Yep.
Geeing up a finals footy punishment and getting around to be cool.
Okay. All right, we'll
I'll
take
leave
that on
that to
board.
you, mate.
Duly noted. Duly noted.
I'm here all day, boys.
We'll discuss that further next week. So if you're here next week, we'll...
Same joke 3 times in 5 minutes, mate.
Hey, just very quickly on the community as well. The bloke multi.
Oh, yes, the bloke bar
Sensational.
multi.
We went across codes. We went over to the Paris Games. We had Titmus 400-metre gold medalist, which obviously hit. Jess Fox in the K1. We had the Boomers to beat Spain. And then Will Warbrick, who participated at the Tokyo Games, silver medalist.
Yep.
Anytime try scorer, $5. Beautiful way to wake up on a
It's
Monday
a
morning.
beautiful way to wake up. The bloke in a bar multi usually drops every Thursday.
Yep.
Some of your best work. That was all Hammy there. That was all Hammy. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Hammy. I got to give credit where credit was due.
Yep.
It was all Hammy there, so great stuff there, Hammy.
Thank you.
That's Face the Music, brought to you by our friends at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Give Hammy a follow on the feed. Let's get into it, eh? Team of the Week, brought to you by Bloke Beer. I tell you what, there was some unbelievable fullbacks this week, but has to go to Connor Tracy. Holy, probably the best game of Connor Tracy's career.
A journeyman that could. How good. You think back to a couple of years ago, he did 3 ACLs at South Sydney as a halfback.
Yeah.
Moved to Cronulla, makes himself an outside back, then moves to the Canterbury Bulldogs and grabs that fullback jersey. Crazy.
And we were saying at the start of the year, if it wasn't Critter, it was Tracy. And I just think that Critter, like Tracy has played so well that it's been like they had a puzzle to solve, and now we're getting to the back end of the year, and it's almost like locked in at the moment. So much so that they've got a junior as well coming through. The
Mitch
young
Woods.
fella. Sorry?
Mitch Woods.
No, fullback.
Papali'i.
Oh, fullback, sorry.
Papali'i. And we actually haven't seen him this year because Tracy has been so good. And again, as I said, guys, remember at the start of the year, we were umming and ahhing of who we would put there. Now that the doggies are sitting there with Tracy at fullback, getting player of the week, heading into finals footy, and they're in the top 6 right now.
And it's good roster management. I imagine, his contract, it'd be pretty
minimum,
good value.
pretty much.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
So, and you're getting, top 12 fullback out of him?
He's doing, I mean, you look at that whole roster in the Bulldogs, and seriously, they are punching way above their rate. So Tracy at fullback, obviously just pipping Tedesco. On the wings, we've got Warbrick and Felt. In the centres, we've got Kiraz and Sammy. At 6, we've got Campbell from the Titans. 7, Nathan Cleary. Campbell just pipping Luai. Cleary, incredible. Otherwise, we would have gone Fogarty. I thought Fogarty was outstanding for the Raiders. Aden Fanua-Blake at 8. 9 at Starling, finally getting some minutes, doing some really good things for the Raiders. 10, Fodawaker. 11, Preston. 12, Nanai. 13, Yo. 14, Tedesco. 15, Curran. 16, Young. And 17, Katoa. Alrighty, let's get into it. The hungriest player this week, brought to you by Menulog. This is going to get you a $7 off this week. $7 off is the best ever. The hungriest player this week is Nathan Cleary. That's right. Use code Cleary, Cleary, for $7 off your order this week. Minimum spend $20. You get $7 off when you use code Cleary. Massive thank you to Menulog. Just download the app. You get discounts every day. And also, Menulog support in rugby league, so get around Menulog as well. But Nathan Cleary, he's the hungriest player. And I just can't believe how often we forget how good this guy is. I feel like every year he gets injured for about 4 to 6 weeks, and all these other players start playing really well, and we go, oh, maybe this player's the best 7 in the comp, or maybe this player's the best 7 in the comp. And then Nathan Cleary returns, and we go, oh, I must have amnesia, because this guy is it's like not even close that he is the best 7 in the competition. He has been unbelievable, and just the ability, it's one thing to come back every single year and play solidly in a 7. He comes back every single year and plays like a 9 out of 10 each time. It's unbelievable what this guy's doing.
Man, it doesn't feel like that. It's an annual event now. It's unbelievable with him. I had someone ask me a question last night, could he do a Callum Ponga and win the Dally Medal? I straight away went no. Then I thought back and I went, well, he's been back for 10 days. He's on 12 points.
It's 6 points system now.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, my concern about him coming back from a second hamstring injury, he's tweaked his hamstring twice this year, was just in the short term, maybe he'll take some time to really find his feet with his running game, because, when he's taking off the mark, when he shows and goes, hits the line, it's quite explosive, a lot of pressure on the hamstrings. I thought maybe we'll just ease into it, focus on his kicking, his ball playing, his game management. But seeing him come out and score a hat-trick yesterday and just firing off the mark, no, he hasn't missed a beat, and he's as good as he's ever been.
And just to back up that point, Nathan Cleary's running game doesn't get talked about anywhere near what it deserves. You actually look at his metres gained. I think last year, maybe even the year before when Hughes had his good year, I'm pretty sure Cleary had more run metres than nearly every other 7 in the competition. And you never talk about that with Nathan Cleary. So it is an important part of his game. On the weekend he was incredible, and we're witnessing greatness. It's that simple. It is that simple. Appreciate it while it's here, guys, because you're going to be sitting there in 20 years telling your kids or whoever, I was there when Nathan Cleary did this or did that. That's how good right now, he could retire tomorrow, and the only question of his resume would be, did he dominate an Origin series? Outside of that, he's done everything. And he's 26. He's 26.
He just got player of the week. Keep in mind, he lost, in my opinion, the best front rower in the game in the first 20 minutes. And then he's already without Dylan Edwards. He then lost his fullback in the first 20 minutes as well. Going up against the Dragons team at home who are playing for their season, it's unbelievable.
It's been great to see 2 weeks in a row. You know, the first week he was back, he had the kind of the clutch moment. Like, you know, he had the big play to win it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, this game, he just, every stat you look at here, he's just dominated everything. 3 tries as well. He just, he's amazing. And you're right, witnessing greatness.
Yeah, just enjoy it. Like, he'll go down as one of the greatest sevens of all time. Like, it is almost the surest bet you can make. Because as I said, he could literally retire right now and his resume would hold up against some of the greatest that ever played the game. We've still got 10 more years of this bloke at a club that is just an absolute juggernaut right now. So it's an absolute pleasure to watch Cleary go around. And also the type of bloke he is. Like, right now, because he's so great, people are looking for reasons to hate him. And the only thing you can find is a TikTok video of him dancing. And I love that, baby. I love that shit. So you can't hate him. He's such a down-to-earth, good bloke. You want to see a guy like him win, and he's such a credit to the game as well. Does everything right. Just a real pin-up boy for the game. So what a pleasure to watch. That's Nathan Cleary. He's our hungriest player. Use code Cleary for $7 off your order this week with Menulog. Minimum spend is $20. All right, let's get into it, shall we? NRL reviews. The Warriors defeat the Tigers 28-16. The Warriors getting the job done, and I think that's what this week was all about. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. Shout out, Mum. I think season's over though for the Warriors. Like, just the standard at which they played at, they are nowhere near as to where we know they can be. And granted, like, you know, Sean Johnson is out. The good thing though for the Warriors is they're showing fight. They're not just. I do think the Warriors of yesteryear would almost pack her up and say, season's over. We're probably not going to make it. But I have to be honest. I do think their season is over at this stage. I don't think they're playing at the standard of even your fringe, like you're in the top probably like 5 to 9 teams. But as I said, they got the win, they got the job done, and I think it's all about building a foundation for next year. I think that the good thing for the Warriors heading into next year is they get a look at Tamate Martin and Harris Tavita in the halves, and they can know whether can these guys become out-and-out halves pairings. I know Metcalf can come back, but can Tamate Martin be our 7? I personally am a bit unsure as to whether Tamate Martin can carry a side throughout the whole season. But good, solid win and laying a foundation for next year.
Just before we get to this game, as I agree with you, mate, the Warriors aren't going as great as what they could, but they've got 5 home games left this season. They've already sold them all out.
The fans are doing their job. You can't blame the fans, that's for sure.
They're 13th, and they've sold out all their home games for the rest of the season. It's incredible by the Warriors. I think Luke Metcalf, he returns to New South Wales Cup this week as well, so hopefully he'll be back over the next few weeks. Mate, I just thought Chanel Harris to be doing this game. I thought it was such a good bounce back. And once again, you said the fans doing their job. The amount of fans in the crowd that had signs for him and everything off the back of last week, so good to see.
It's so good to see. And I think that the fans did it seemed like they got around Harris Tavita, like even the cheering when he did get his, when he scored. Put it this way, the fans have done more than enough for the Warriors. They've been incredible, absolutely incredible. But yeah, not good solid win, but they got the win. That's what matters. And I really think now it's about laying a foundation, because right now they're currently on 21 points. They do have a bye in hand, so they could be on 23 points. But I just don't know whether they're going to be able to play at the same level as your Dolphins, your Seagulls, around that mark, and the Raiders as well. Broncos were terrible on the weekend, but they could jag a few points here and there, so they might steal points off them. What do you reckon, Jimmy? How did you see him on the weekend?
Yeah, not an overly impressive performance. As you said, got the job done, got the 2 points. You mentioned 3 points out of the 8 at the moment, the bye in round 27. Look, they're up against it. It's a relatively soft run home, and they also have games coming up against the 2 teams you just mentioned that are sort of vying for that sort of 8th spot, and it's the Dolphins, it is the Manly Seagulls. Sean Johnson to come back in. They've got Nickel Cookstad to come back in potentially this week, so there's some good faces to come back into the side. It's still possible that they can play finals football. I'm just not seeing good enough quality from them week in, week out, and the consistency to suggest that they can win, 5 on the trot to get there. But, mate, they've kept themselves alive. It was in the end, I suppose, a convincing win. The Tigers were in it for a while there, but they did a job.
Chan's set to be named this week. Do you play him at fullback or do you keep Roger there?
No, I think you play him at fullback. I think that Roger's ball playing, it's just not enough in the attacking ball. Like, we know Roger can run for 1,000 metres, incredible footwork. And I get the argument of if you're not putting him at fullback, he's not getting used enough. But I just think with the way the Warriors game is set up, I just don't know whether Roger has the ball playing for that system.
On the weekend, the one thing that knows me with Roger, not even so much the actual passing, he was so deep when they had them sweeping movements. And he'd go out the back. It gave the defence so much time to slide across and cover it. They didn't look overly dangerous on the edges. It's just the timing of, he hasn't played fullback for a fair while properly and week in, week out. I think back on the wing, like they made the move with him doing the week before, Torpicki got injured. I think they're
I like him on the wing.
I do too. And he can roam around. He can have his 25 plus runs per game. He'll be damaging with ball in hand. I think that's where he's fine at centre, but I think on the wing he can dominate.
Because I think his last couple of games he's played fullback, I'm not even sure he has one try assist.
Yeah.
And so I think you can fall into the trap of going, wow, look, because like the problem with RTS is every other part of his game is unbelievable. Like his ball running is so good. It's just that, it's the ball playing. And granted, like he didn't train there. If he had a whole preseason there in this system, then he might be able to pick up those skill sets. What about you, Real? Would you put him back there?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit closer to doing it than you guys are, but you do make a very good point as far as he's the king of timing on those plays, isn't he? Very hard to beat. Without SJ, they seem to be playing a little bit differently. I just feel they lack a bit of spark at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, and maybe you look for it in a different way with that footwork through the middle rather than the ball playing at the back.
I think if SJ was the halfback and they were going to play like they have the last few years, I think I would straight away put him in. But without SJ there, I do wonder if maybe just the spark of Roger.
And I do think his biggest attribute at fullback is, as we know, running metres, yardage out of his own end, and he'll probably run for 250 metres most games there. Chance comes back in, plays fullback. You have Roger on the wing. He can do that. He can have 25 runs. He can run for well over 200 metres. He can chime in around the ruck and support. He can do his best attribute at fullback, playing on the wing, and you get your ball playing fullback.
Yeah, I agree with you, Timmy. I think also, if he wants to jump in at fullback and return some balls like when he's on the wing, like just say, Chance, I want to go fullback here and just take a few kick, like go back there for a few kick returns. Get it out of his system, but also you get his kick returns as well. But yeah, I think if you're going to pull him at fullback, you probably need a whole preseason there of just working on his timing and his ball playing. In saying that, the argument against it could be, look, they haven't looked that good in attack recently anyway. Even with Chance there, they've been quite predictable. Maybe they do need to just chuck him back there. I mean, 28 points is 28 points. Like, I know he didn't have a try assist, but it's still bloody 28 points. So there's that argument. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, I would be inclined to get Chance back there because I think if you have a look at that, then you've got DWZ, Roger, and Chance. That's a pretty well balanced back three as well. And I think Timmy hit the nail on the head. Like you're still getting the run meters out of Roger that you want to get out of him if he's on the wing. I don't think it changes things too much, but you add in that ball playing of Chance. So I'd be looking to get him back in there as well.
Another bloke that stood out for me, Ali Lalatua. Apologies, I'm definitely probably saying that wrong. Leah Tower.
It is, yeah.
Leah Tower. Mate, I try assist, but for a young fella and how much he has to, like, I guess, offer over the next 10 years or however long it is, but I'm excited to see how he develops. Now, I guess the question will be around about him will be, the Warriors have always had really good big outside backs, and he just needs to break the mould of, because like you can actually go and look at Warriors that are at other clubs right now that were outside backs for this Warriors side, where you look at them physically and you say, holy shit, this guy could be the best centre in the competition. The question will be, Leotal for him is to break that kind of, I wouldn't say curse, but like the mould of that really incredible physical outside back Warriors bring through, and just work on all the little things in his game, because there's something. He's 20 years old, I think. Can you check his age, please, Matty? Super young, big, strong, robust. He looks slick to me.
Defends well too. So important. And yeah, as you said, just well balanced. He's quick. Those hands that he showed on that play, that was incredible.
How big he is, it's fucking amazing.
Like he ticks all the boxes you could want. And with a few more NRL pre-seasons under his belt, he could be special over there.
The tip on for the try was the one for me. Yeah. We know he's a powerful ball runner. He'll score a lot of tries, but your centres these days, they don't have to, but it adds so much value to him as a player if they've just got that deft little tip on, and for him to do it at his size, that was the moment, this bloke could be special.
Yeah, that's delicate. Like, he would have come through the grade absolutely annihilating blokes with his size. Like, that's just what comes naturally to him. But the fact that he had those silky hands, because as you said to me, like, in today's game, how many tries do we see of a centre, just a quick touch? Like, we see it pretty much every game, at least once a game or even twice. You'll see a centre in a position where he has to have quick hands, and it's usually a try. And if you don't have that, unfortunately, you're probably just not going to play regular first grade. How old is he?
21.
He's 21, so he's super young. So I also like the fact that we got a young fella that had so he had 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, a line break assist, 10 tackles, 0 misses with 0 errors. Like, he's already kind of breaking the mold, like a young, big outside back like that. Usually a couple missed tackles, a few errors here or there. So he really excites me. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, he looked the goods. I mean, probably didn't have the toughest opposition in the world to go up against. I mean, he looked like a pretty good little prospect for them there. So yeah, thought he was good.
Even as a depth guy as well, I thought the other centre was good too, Graham Tafua. I think that's only his 3rd game. I think he actually, he made his debut the night Latrell put that shot on Joey Manu. He was activated as 18th man.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure, maybe do your own research there, but I'm pretty sure that was him that night because he came through the Roosters as a fullback through their system, and he was an absolute gun. I sort of haven't seen too much of him over the last few years, but good to see him pop back up.
I feel like I'm going to be a broken record, but, kicking game, it's just a big question for me with these two. Yep. Like, it's a big question next year where you may find, obviously you'll re-sign SJ because of his quality, but maybe the biggest reason you'll have to re-sign SJ is kicking game. Because at the moment, Chanel Harris-Tavita, they get down there in, first tackle, he's putting grubbers in. They got a repeat set. But like just little things like that, you shouldn't be kicking on the first tackle. Like first tackle down their end. And on top of all that, so they got the repeat set, they attacked in, and then eventually the Tigers got the ball back. And it's like, it was a scoring like you had four more tackles, an opportunity to essentially score on that. And you've wasted at least 3 opportunities to have a crack at them because you can always get that repeat set. So just like little things like, and also if you go back and watch that first kick that he'd put in, if he had put it in correctly, as in nailed it, they would have scored. So just like all those little things. Another one, Tomato Martin, last tackle, just the decision making. So it was last tackle. He decides to run it. There's a bad pass. It hits the decks. The ball gets back to him, and they're on halfway line at this stage. The ball gets back to him, and he still doesn't kick it, and it's on the last tackle. So just those little things with the halves, the last play decision-making just needs a massive, massive improvement if they're to make any, do any damage in the competition.
And if you want to look at a good example of how important it can be, I think the Canberra Raiders the last few weeks, watching Jamal Fogarty come in, not a superstar, but makes good decisions, kicks well, makes a world of a difference.
Well, I mean, Chanel Harris-Tavita and Tomato Martin and Fogarty, out of those 3 players, Fogarty has easily the least talent. Like, if you wanted to backyard footy it, now don't get me wrong, Fogarty's still very, very talented, and yet out of all 3 players, Fogarty's the one you sign first.
Yep.
Because he's a good structured 7 that can get the job done. So that's the biggest question for me for the Warriors is, like, look, hopefully they can go on a run and make the finals. I would love that. But the biggest question heading into next year is who is going to be the organising 7? SJ is yet to sign. All right, let's move on to onto the Tigers. My biggest concern with the Tigers, it's not the result, 28-16, decent or whatever. There's like 10 minutes to go, and there wasn't a single Tigers player in the VB hard-earned list. Not a single one. And that just says to me, I don't care about talent, I don't care about rosters, and we can all look for excuses as to like, oh, well, look at our roster compared to this roster or whatever. Not a single one where VB hard-earned is where they measure all the tough stuff, all the carries, the tackles, everything. Not a single Tiger was in it. And that just suggests to me that right now, you can make the excuses of rosters and blah, 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 all the drama. But at the end of the day, this team, whether it's the players' fault, the coach's fault, the admin's fault, is not going out there and ripping and tearing as much as they should, in my opinion.
You want to go, Mike?
Well, I think you're spot on. They're not ripping and tearing as much as they should, and it's very disappointing to kind of see. There's just a lot of players and little things that happen that add up that just really, as a supporter, suck the air out of you a little bit, suck the life. You know, just before half-time, we just conceded a try. I think Jareen Buller made an error at the back there, and then we conceded another one straight away. So you're probably going to half-time, heads are down, all that sort of stuff as well. Not an excuse to not come out and rip and tear, but a lot of little things like that. We had a penalty as well. Failed to find touch with it. We seem to do that sort of thing a lot as well. You can just feel the boys, like the heads drop and stuff like that as well. So, I don't know, there's so many things that should be easy fixes, like, you know, kicking a ball out or just doing you're just hanging onto the footy. And then obviously we've had lots of issues with our discipline. Thankfully we didn't get a sin bin this week. That's one improvement on the last couple of weeks. But little things like that just seem they add up. And, you know, again, not making an excuse, but that for me probably would feed into, you know, a little bit of a lack of intensity and whatever that seems to have kind of crept in across the board. But, yeah, probably scoreline maybe flattered us a little bit. Could have been a little bit worse, but you're spot on.
Wasn't the Johnny Bateman situation?
Yeah, I haven't spoken about that yet either.
Yeah, it's just the Johnny Bateman situation, like, what I guess get a bit surprised at, not surprised at, look, you're always going to pick your club over a player. I get that as a fan. But, like, how many players have gone there and not played well for us to not go, you know, maybe the club's the problem. Like, maybe that environment. Like, Stefano's leaving now. That's been announced. Bateman's leaving. Papali'i's leaving. Now, granted, maybe this is Benji Marshall cleaning out, but they wanted to keep Stefano, so that doesn't count. And so maybe we're sitting right now in a situation where we're witnessing the Bulldogs of last year, where they were terrible, gets in new players that he wants. But I think that, like, to blame the players like Papali'i and Bateman and then not look at the reality of the situation is whenever people go there, they just struggle. Like, the environment at the moment, and granted, it's the first year for Benji, so you've got to give him time to turn it around. But clearly, the turnaround has been a little bit slower than I think a lot of us expected. And look, has Bateman or Papali'i been anywhere near as good as we know they can be? No, I don't think so. I also don't think they've been, like, the narrative that has been set that Papali'i and Bateman have been terrible for the Tigers, I just don't agree with it. I think they've been solid. The idea that they've just been I don't agree. I mean, Papali'i was one of your bloody best players on the weekend.
Yeah, he was. And great try celebration as well. Credit to him. But
great haircut too.
Great haircut.
Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I don't think those guys have been they haven't really been set up for success, have they? Like, you know, back rowers, you know, like the team's playing off the back foot quite a bit. They haven't really... I'm with you. I think they haven't been as bad as people have sort of made out. But, yeah, I'm happy to give Benji the benefit of the doubt. The Bulldogs is a good example. They had a bit of roster change as well. Obviously, these guys were signed before Benji was involved and stuff like that. So the one positive that he has done in the last couple of weeks is played the kids. There's a lot of faces in this team that, like, we hadn't seen at the start of the year. Get as much experience into them as he can until the end of the year. And hopefully that just kind of sets us up for some improvement, you know, going forward next year.
Like, for example, so Benji Marshall, they released a statement saying that Bateman was going. And in the press conference, he's like, basically, I just got told. And like surely the club is still not doing this, where there's a disconnect between the coach and the... and also, like, the fact that it was getting leaked publicly that the CEO was over in the Super League trying to offload players. Like, how's that good for morale? Like, if you're a player, how's that good knowing that you're basically being told, mate, you're out of here? Like, I don't know. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, really disappointing, the Tigers. And you sit there and you don't have to nitpick with the Tigers. It's pretty easy to find sort of negatives in their game, unfortunately. But you sit there and go, oh, because they're losing, because there's all this hysteria and things going on off the field, you're being unfair on them and things you find. But every time I watch them, I just think, dumb shit. They just do dumb shit all the time. And even on the weekend, you go, the Warriors came out of the blocks in the first half pretty quickly. They went up 3 tries after 37 minutes. And you go, okay, this could get nasty. The Tigers lost players, and they came out and they scored the first 2 tries of the second half. They got it back to about 14-10. You're going, all right, they're showing some ticker here. Like, they've done at stages this season. Let's go. Like, could they pull off a pretty unlikely victory with players out? And then, 5 minutes after the Charlie Staines second try, Alex Seyfarth gives away 2 penalties in the space of 3 minutes that were completely avoidable, just doing dumb shit. Didn't have to happen. What happened off the back of it? They lost their momentum. Warriors go bang, bang, and it's game over. And you're looking at a 28-16 scoreline. Little things like that were so avoidable. This could have been a different result, but dumb things that the Tigers seem to do more than any other club, and just cost them chance of winning games of footy.
We mentioned that last week, where I've actually seen 20 to 40 minutes of top 8 footy from the Tigers this year, but it's just they shoot themselves in the foot. They really do. So Stefano leaving, look, I think that we all kind of expected that. Tough loss for the Tigers, but at the same time, like, I actually think it's the best for both parties. Yeah. Because, like, Stefano, he's got a lot of potential, but he hasn't really delivered it for the Tigers over a long period of time. He might play 3 or 4 good games, and just to reiterate, that kind of backs up my point in regards to Bateman, Papali, all these players that have come and not been their best. Like, clearly Stefano and the Tigers, he's not going to be his best there. So why not? I think it's a good thing for the Tigers to release that money, go and find someone else that will suit this new age with Benji as coach. So I actually think it's the best for both parties. I actually think it's best.
Yeah, it probably, unfortunately, probably is. And he'll probably go down to the Storm and be the Dalian prop of the year next year. And it'll be another shit sandwich for the Tigers fans to enjoy.
But the reality is you're not in a position to get that out of him. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
And look, Tigers will, he'll kill it. But I just remember when in a year's time when he's killing it, think back to this time and just remember he wasn't getting the best out of himself at the Tigers. Like, this guy that you're seeing at the Storm, he was never going to be that guy at the Tigers. Now, hopefully some other young kid can be that guy at the Tigers. You've got Luai arriving next year. But just at the moment, it's one of those situations where he was there before this new era has arrived.
Yep.
There's baggage there. There's, there's history. Cut ties, move forward.
Don't want to get too bogged down into the Stefano situation, what we might get, but I wonder, Big Nasty looking to maybe move on from the Storm. He might be a good little fit with Luai.
Interesting. You know what? It's like, I think, as you said, Kepi, I think Stefano leaving is the best thing for both parties. Not blaming Stefano for it, but the last thing the Tigers need is just more noise off field, and there's been 2 years of it with Stefano.
Yep. And
move on, he'll kill it somewhere else. I look at the Tigers pack and I compare it to the Bulldogs, and I go, the Bulldogs having so much success with this smaller, more mobile pack. I look at the Tigers and go, Stefano, enormous. Clemmer, big boy. Twal, big boy. Really big, not the most mobile pack you'll see. Go out there, find a good, big minute, smaller lock forward or front row forward. The Doggies have got Josh Curran, Kurt Mann, someone like that. They're going to have a lot of money to do it. Getting rid of Stefano, I think there's a good opportunity in it for the Tigers.
Yeah, I agree. I think that start fresh, just completely fresh in this new Benji era with Luai coming. And I think Stefano, wherever he does end up, because there's no confirmation, I think it's the best for him as well. I really do.
Yep.
Hopefully with the Tigers, we're witnessing what we witnessed with the Bulldogs, where they had to take a few steps back to take a few steps forwards. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, the Doggies last year, one bad year, second year into the rebuild, they're killing it. Hope the same with the Tigers.
And if you are the Tigers, you look at the Bulldogs as inspiration, don't you? Yeah. You have a look at their forward pack and their front row group. I think Stefano, Fanua-Bolo, Twal, I think these guys would all walk into a starting spot at the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Alrighty, Storm defeat the Eels. And don't forget, all 8 games are live and ad-free during play on KO. Some key games this week, the Titans v Broncos, Storm v Dragons, Sharks v Rabbitohs, exclusive to Fox League and available on KO. Storm defeat the Eels 32-14. This one, bit of a strange one, this one, because you look at the Eels in the ladder and you go, okay, that's a bad scoreline for the Storm. But when you actually watch the game, the Eels bloody turned up. They were outstanding for a period there. And they just have this weird ability. They find the best teams in the competition and give it to them. And I think it's because they have this big forward pack, at least their starting forward pack, that loves to offload. And I think some of the top-tier sides are yet to kind of they can handle it to a degree, but for periods, it's very tough to build systems around offloading because it's so you really can't.
Yep.
And so, the Eels came out and all of us, you're sitting there going, holy shit, could this be a bit of a boil over? Obviously, the Storm eventually ran away with it. It was 6 offloads to 1, which was Eels had 6 offloads to 1. So you were just looking at this kind of Eels side that throw caution to the wind. Eventually, the Storm machine rolled over him. Cam Munster with a return, which is really good to see him back out there. But Storm getting the job done. Look, with the Storm, like I almost don't care what I see for the rest of the season because of what I saw against the Roosters. Now, granted, you might say, oh, maybe the Roosters are a little bit tired during Origin. Like, yeah, I guess. It was a big game. It was a top-tier game. Storm got it done. So Storm are probably going to have games like this. We've seen them earlier in the year where they allow opponents to score 14 to 20 points. I'm still very sure that the Storm are a premiership threat this year.
Yeah, for sure. At half-time, it was 14 points to 8. I thought Parramatta were the better side first half. They came out sensational. All the Melbourne Storm tries were very much going against the run of play in this game. I was incredibly impressed with Parramatta early, and I think...
Well, the Storm only had one tackle inside the Eels 20 for the first 53 minutes.
And I mean, like the Harry Grant try, that was just... The ball literally landed in his chest with no one in front of him. Like, I thought Parramatta were great, and the thing that I love, mate, Dill Brown just running the football.
Yeah. Just run it,
Just run.
Yeah. So dangerous.
He's lethal. When he's just running the football, he is so dangerous, and it just creates opportunities around him then.
In regards to the Storm, we'll stick with the Storm. I think that what I'm getting, I guess, first of all, I feel like they started complacently. I think that they were living off last week's big victory. But also, like, I do find that their defence at times is really passive. Like, they get up and slide quite a lot. And I think in today's game, you almost just can't afford to do that. I think that, you know, in the early 2000s, a lot of defence was up and slide, and you could get away with it. I think teams are way too good at picking that apart. I think that with up and slide defence, it works when there's wrestle, because you can up slide, you can lose the contact, but then wrestle the contact back, get a slow play the ball. Whereas nowadays, when there's still wrestle, but nowhere near as much. Once that quick play the ball hits, you're stuffed. So I do think that the Storm, although it's going to be the one question they have over themselves, like against them all year heading into the grand final, will be most likely that right side with that Hughes, whoever combo with him. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to the Broncos, because the Broncos got absolutely annihilated with this up and slide weird defence. But yeah, that was one thing that I was looking at the Storm going, I think they need to find a way to fix that.
Yeah, and it's funny because as soon as you started saying that and having that sort of sliding passive edge defence, as soon as you mentioned it, my head went to the Broncos. And obviously we'll get to that game shortly, but the Doggies exploited that so well. And I think in the modern game, the ball movement, teams are willing to go side to side and just attack on the edges. And whether it's attacking in the opposition red zone or whether it's coming out of their end, just to make those easy meters. And I said teams are doing it a little bit to the Storm. And the modern game, where having a really high quality ball playing lock as that link man in the field, it just allows teams to go side to side so much easier. So maybe it's an area of concern.
Yeah, look, it's been a concern all year, that Hughes edge. But look, every team has areas of concern except for maybe the Penrith Panthers. Like, you look at their game and you're like, where's the concern?
And if you look at issues with the Storm, that only sort of real area of concern for them at the moment. Like, you can't fault their attack, especially a side that's had Munster out long term. Pappenhausen is clearly getting back to his best. He's dealing with the foot issue at the moment. It's kind of that right edge defence. Outside of that, they're pretty hard to fault.
Well, like you could make the argument their attack is better than Penrith's attack coming out of their own end, because of the amount of, like, as I said, one tackle in the Eels 20 and 53 minutes, and they were like 14 8 up, or maybe even more by that stage, because their ability to, if you give them half a sniff coming out of their end, they will make you pay. They will make you pay them.
Especially when you look at like the calibre of player that they're doing it with. Like that left edge is Jack Howarth and Grant Henderson. Like, I don't think anyone had them in their first grade side this year.
Jeez, I love watching Howarth play. He just looks like an absolute nightmare to tackle. So strong in contact.
That stat you mentioned, it stuck out to me in the coverage as well, around the one tackle in the Eels 20 after 53 minutes, and I think they were up 18-8 or something like that at that point. And that's the perfect example of they can get you from anywhere.
Yep.
You go to sleep for a second or lapse defensively, they will get you, because they're scoring the longer range tries and getting you from 40, 50 out. That's a remarkable stat.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a scary stat, because you can have all this field position on the Storm and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's like almost heartbreaking for teams, because they're doing all the right things. Like, you look at the Eels, like, they really couldn't have done much more with the squad they had. They had all the field position. They were winning the ruck. they just needed some extra firepower with Mitchell Moses, obviously, would have been there to get points with like that field position. But Storm just going, no.
Just on Howard there, that first try that they scored, where he combined with Anderson, how good was that? Just when he got through, he kind of adjusted his pace, so he kind of pulled it back a little bit and then threw a pass almost between like 3 Eels defenders. So classy. Yep. It's been such a great find for him this year. I reckon he's made that centre position his own.
Geez, Bellamy has been so patient with him.
Yep.
And once again, Bellyache knows best. He knows best. I still think he probably will end up on an edge, but I don't mind, as in edge back row. But I actually don't, I was quite against him being centre because I just don't know whether, I feel like he suits edge back row more. But, the fact that he is so young, like, you know what, maybe you do put him in centre initially, let him grow into his man strength, let him get a bit of a read on the game, because the forward defender is so unbelievably important in defence when it comes to communication, your spacing, your line speed. Maybe that's too much for a young fella right now in the Melbourne Storm to take care of. And also, Blore and Katoa have been arguably their best players all year.
I think that's the big talking point, isn't it? You've got the 2 back rowers there. As long as Howard can do a job out there at centre, I think eventually he'll end up in the back row, but I reckon he's got probably 18 months, if not 2 years there.
Isn't it such a fascinating case? Because like all that I'd sort of heard coming out around why he wasn't playing more first grade footy was just defensive reads and couldn't sort of do it at that 4-man, because that 4-man, the edge second row defender, the most important defender in the team. But I think the centre defensively has the hardest individual reads, and he's moved out there. He's doing a job. Yeah. He's also keeping out one of the better defensive centres in the NRL, in Remus Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been great. Got to speak about him. Will Warbrick had such a slow start to the year and just like errors and honestly lucky to keep his spot at times. Like if they weren't so, they don't have much depth in the outside backs. I actually reckon he probably loses his spot earlier in the year. But geez, he's bounced back in a big way, hitting form. I tell you what, when he hits full flight, the size of him and his ability to change direction at full flight, it's pretty special to watch. He has been phenomenal, and it's just, with Coates being out, it's exactly what the Storm needed heading into finals footy.
I reckon there's been 4 times in the last 2 years I've sat here and looked at him and thought he is 1 error away from being dropped out of this side. And he's just hung on, and now he's starting to hit some really, really good form, Warbrick. And once again, credit to Craig Bellamy. Patience.
So good. Warbrick is just, and on the weekend, like 3 years, so basically had a try, 20 runs, 304 metres, 81 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks. And actually, a few times if he had got the ball to him, he probably would have had a couple more line breaks. That's how good they were going. So Will Warbrick, and also Craig Bellamy, he's known as this kind of ruthless coach or whatever, but I do think that he's stuck loyal with Warbrick. I think that he had enough errors in his game earlier this year where Bellamy probably would have been justified in saying, you know what, mate, a little bit longer in New South Wales Cup. But he didn't. He stayed patient. He built trust. And yeah, Warbrick's been phenomenal.
You could say the same about Nick Meaney, who continues to sort of have defensive lapses and a few issues. Bellyache sticking by him week in, week out. He goes, nah, you're the man for our team, and he's happy to go forward with him.
Yep, absolutely. Another guy, Wishart, hasn't he been just like barely gets a mention because Hughes is phenomenal. Like Hughes having maybe the best year of his career. But Wishart has just like slotted straight into that 6 role, so much so that they've gone, you know what, we can afford to just bring Munster off the bench, put Wishart at 6, and then obviously move him to 13. I think they moved him to 13 or not. He has been seriously incredible. Like they're on top of the table, and we're not even talking about.
I think the greatest compliment to him is that, I think the reality is they haven't missed Munster. They haven't. Wishart's played his role. Jerome Hughes has stepped up, and I think you have to give Tyrone Wishart some credit for that. And I was looking at their side the other day. I think that for the run home, I'd be happy to run with Wishart and Farlongo on the bench.
I was going to ask you boys that. Really fascinating to see what he goes. Because I just sort of assumed that once Munster was back, Wishart goes to the bench, Farlongo probably drops out of the 17. It makes sense. But you look at the bench he picked on the weekend, Munster off the bench, Farlongo was there as well. Maybe they do run them both.
I reckon he'll do it.
And you look at their bench, Vaalepu, 16 minutes. Nelson, 36 minutes. Farlongo, 10 minutes. And obviously Munster, you know what I mean? So it's not like he's needing these forwards on the bench to play massive minutes.
Yeah.
Kamikamitha, I think he's been, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been their unsung hero. I thought against the Roosters, we already spoke about it, but they tried to bash him out of the game, and he just kept turning up. And granted, does he have crazy stats where you're sitting there? But at the end of the day, he's the front rower in the team that's coming first, and he's laying the platform. We've already spoken about King quite a bit, but I think Kamikamitha has been really solid this year, and they've been missing Welsh. Nelson's been injured for a period there as well. A front row pairing of King, Kamikamitha, honestly, that would struggle to make some bottom 8 sides, on purely just name or whatever, as in starting. And yet they're the starting front row of the best team in the comp right now.
Well, when you name their best 17 at the start of the season, the first thing you would have said was they're short of front row, and they've had injuries there, and he's just done a job.
Yep. So great stuff. Katoa, once again, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
So good in attack. There was a couple of plays there that led to a couple of tries. Hughes went to Katoa and he threw it back in for Wishy.
Yep.
And then when Munster came on, it was almost the same play, but he threw it back inside for Pappy.
Yep.
Just such a threat, great ball player as well as doing all the little things he's got to do.
Yeah, he's just been so good.
Yep.
Right now, you're probably back row of the year. I'm trying to think
in the top
consistency-wise.
So. Yeah.
Probably back row of the year. Not really getting spoken about that much.
I think probably him and Angus.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
Him and Angus with, what do you reckon, Olakau'atu just behind. Hudson Young's been pretty good lately.
Fafita's always thereabouts.
But yeah, Katoa for sure. Angus would be number one, but Katoa wouldn't be far off. And look, there's even an argument to be made that Katoa, because he's in the Melbourne spot, down there, that he's been more consistent over the whole season.
I think either in terms of the Dally M team of the year, if either of those blokes, Crichton or Eli Katoa, go down injured and don't play another game this season, I still think they'll get the top 2.
Because they've played long enough.
I mean, the only thing is team of the year based on Dally M votes, or is it?
No, I think they've changed it so they can put in.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, because as I said, there's even an argument to say Katoa from round 1 to now has been the most consistent back rower all year. But obviously, Angus Crichton's had bigger moments. He's been unbelievable. Won the Wally Lewis medal. So look, great win from the Storm. And if I'm a Storm fan, I wouldn't look at it like, the Storm only beat the Eels by that much. That Eels version beats most bottom 8 sides. They played really, really well.
What would your bench look like? Would you run with both the boys? Wish and Saw?
I tell you what, I'd be testing it. I'd be testing it heading into the finals footy. The worry I have is if you go up against a Penrith and that big forward pack is just rolling through the middle, I just worry whether, having Wishart and Fa'alonga on the bench, that you would gas your other 2 forwards out that you got on the bench.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'd probably drop Fa'alonga and just have Wishart there as a utility. I guess the one thing maybe Bellamy's looking at is they've got Jack Howarth at centre. So if there was an injury to the back line and Howarth could shift into the forwards to bring Fa'alonga into the game, they've got an extra forward if shit does hit the fan. I still... I said Penrith.
Yeah,
Penrith.
I'd want someone to combat when they bring their bench forwards on, I'd want to be able to bring on 2 bench forwards as well.
Unless they're just thinking that, we keep talking about it, I keep bringing it up, a mobile, more small forward pack, and they've got Trent Liero, who's not a big body at 13, and they're going, we can get 45 minutes or however many minutes it is out of Tyron Wishart as a middle forward. Maybe that's the go.
I reckon you see that bench configuration for 2 more weeks. They've got the Dragons and the Rabbitohs, and it's a good way to ease Munster back in. But then after that, they do play the Panthers. I reckon that's when maybe they'll get a good gauge on where Munster's at. They'll probably put Wishy on the bench.
I look at it like this. Fa'alonga, incredible player. But if you're up against Penrith, you're not going to be lacking for attacking weapons in that side. You got Munster, you got Pappy, you got Hughes, you got Grant, you got Warbrick. Coates will be back by the end of the year. He'll be back by finals footy, wouldn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, back into the season.
Yeah. And so I just look at that and go, okay, Fa'alonga on the bench, is he what you're going to need to win the game? I think that what you're going to need is a forward that's going to either be able to create momentum for that spine, and I just don't know whether bringing Fa'alonga on for 10 minutes or 20 minutes at the end of the game is going to be what.
I think Coates is 2 weeks away.
Statistically, they've got the second best attack in the NRL, 27.6 points per game behind the Roosters. The last thing they need is attack off the bench.
Yeah, especially with a fully fit spine as well. Onto the Eels. we'll obviously be a little bit quicker with the Eels, guys. Teams that can't make the 8, like each week, we'll speak about what's relevant to them. So, for example, if they've got transfers or got recruitments, blah, blah, we'll definitely speak about that. But like with the Eels, they can't make the 8, so we won't speak about them as long as we'll speak about teams that can make the 8. But we obviously will still speak about them. Eels fans, like the good thing with that is like we saw a response. They played really, really well without obviously Mitchell Moses. That's a positive. At least this roster's reacting. At least it's not just going, you know what, feet up, boys. Season's over. We can't make it. Because, they were outstanding. And I dare say that they play like that against most of the bottom 8 sides. I think they get the job done.
For sure. Yeah, and I reckon, they obviously competed against the Melbourne Storm. I think they would have competed against the Roosters and the Panthers in those early stages too. They were playing good footy. Mate, I thought Sean Lane, he had that one error that led to the Harry Grant try. I thought outside of that, probably one of his better games this year. Been a bizarre season for Sean Lane. I can't get a read on what's going on there.
He has good moments, but then sometimes he has these other moments where he just I feel just loses concentration. Very strange.
That was his best game all year by a mile, and he looked at his absolute best. And you talk about what's gone wrong. I look at him, and particularly when he's played on the edge, which he did on the weekend, he spent some time in the middle, obviously. Mate, he's just not hitting the line that hard. Those hard unders lines he used to hit off Dylan Brown and the combination they had, he's so ranged, he got such a great offload that when he was hitting the line hard, just great things happened around him. Tough to tackle, he'd get the offload away. It was a bit of a juggernaut, like certainly 2 years ago for the Eels. He's not hitting the line that hard, but on the weekend he did. Good things happened. He was great.
I think it might be like just a confidence thing with him. Seems like a player that once he gets that momentum behind him, even like early in the game, if something goes well for him, he does seem to kind of react well to it. He's so destructive, especially his combination with Dylan Brown, it basically carried them to a grand final. Like that combination, anytime, it was almost similar to what Kickout did with the Penrith Panthers. Like anytime Luai needed some momentum, you just go boom, straight to Kickout, something would happen.
And that left edge at the Eels has been one of the best try-scoring spots in the NRL for a few years now, no matter how the Eels are going on the ladder, off the back of Dylan Brown plays direct, Sean Lane runs that hard underline, and they just play out the back, and because the defenders are tied in, Sivo just has a field day, scores tries for fun. Lane is such a big part of that, but we haven't seen it this season.
All right, we'll talk about it. Blaze Talangi, Gutho. The talk is kind of amped up a little bit. Even talks as far as like, should Gutho consider going somewhere else? Look, Riles may come in, and let's say Gutho does go to another club. Riles may come in and they may be better than they were this year. But that still, to me, doesn't... Even if they go better as a club with Gutho not playing fullback, that may not be just because Gutho isn't fullback. If you know what I'm saying? Like, anything's better than this year. And it may be just because Riles getting better... results out of a lot of people. I personally think that you'd be crazy to even consider moving a guy like Gutho on. I think that he definitely has at least another year or two at fullback at the Eels. I think Blaze needs another year or two learning his trade as an outside back. He's going to get better and better as a centre or a winger, a whole pre-season as well. I understand the need to keep Blaze Talangi, but I also think that the Eels need to also look at it and go, you're a rookie. You've played some solid footy. You've had a couple good games here or there. But at the same time, we have something to offer as a club as well. And I think that the Eels' biggest concern was their roster management from the last administration. I know it's the same administration, but the last kind of people that took care of things. And I think that heading into this new era of roster management, I think that they need to be confident in, if Blaze is a good young gun that's going to demand fullback next year, or his manager's going to demand fullback next year, I personally think, well, okay, mate, like unfortunately, there is a fullback position for you long term. We just want you to serve your apprenticeship for another year or two longer. I would hate for them to lose a guy like Gutho because of a rookie's manager. I highly doubt Blaze is the one demanding this stuff. Says, nah, fullback or nothing.
I think the Parramatta Eels, to your point, I think they just need to remember, they're the Parramatta Eels. When they're high and flying, they're one of the biggest clubs in the league. The fan base they've got and everything, the history they've got, I think losing Gutho would be an absolute train wreck. I would love to see Blaze play fullback. I think that they could have a better footy side with him at fullback, giving some experience there. But if it means you're going to lose Gutho, then I'd fall back on that in a heartbeat.
So you'd have Blaze at fullback and Gutho at centre?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, well, I definitely think Gutho is still the best fullback at the club. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, look, I think people just forget Gutho very quickly because Parramatta are having a poor year, how good he's been for so many years. He's one of the most consistent fullbacks in the NRL, and I generally feel like, he's gone off the boil a little bit over the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks. I think he came back from injury probably a little bit early because of how Parramatta were going. I think in a better season where they could afford to rest him and do that, he may have.
My understanding is that he is sacrificing his body right now to play.
There you go. And I just think, I'm with you, I think moving forward, he's still only 29 years old, Gutho. I think he's their best fullback. I'll tell you the other thing, Blaze Talangi, the biggest issue with his game at the moment, whether he's at fullback or in the back line, is just defensively. He's small, he's still growing, all that sort of stuff. Their season's gone. I think it would do him the world of good just to get some defence under his belt in the NRL in the defensive line. And then when he does eventually make that full-time move to fullback, I just think physically he's going to be so much better for it. I think it's a good opportunity. I'm not against him playing a few games at fullback and give him a crack there at the back end of the season for sure, but I think long-term it's still Gutho.
Yeah. I'm with you in regards to, look, maybe you chuck him at the back at the moment because the season's over. You don't want him in the spoon, obviously. But I think that, look, with these kind of situations, there's got to be a give and take both ways. And I think that if Blaze really wants to stay, which is a great thing, because, when you watch him play, this kid, if he keeps his head on straight and he works hard, he's going to be a gun. We can all see that. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean that he's ready to go as a fullback. We have seen, the importance of a fullback has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with sides. The communication needed back there is just seriously, it's defensively, there's an argument to be made fullback is the most important position on the field, not physically, but mentally, because you're the one directing the troops where to go. Every time a forward turns around, looks back, you're the one pointing that way. And I just think with a guy like Blaze, absolutely he should be in their top 13 each week, and he should be starting, whether it's wing, centre. But he can learn a lot off a guy like Gutho. So
they are polar opposites, Gutho and Blaze. Gutho lacks probably natural ability compared to a lot of fullbacks in the game. He's not a speedster. He's not extremely strong. He just gives everything he's got. He's one of the fittest players in the competition. Blaze Talangi is the opposite. Not in a negative way, but he's this young bloke who is just gifted with natural talent, and he has this enormous future ahead of him. But he needs to learn the little things week in, week out that make an NRL player. And as you said, Kempy, who better to learn it from than Clint Gutherson over the next year or two?
It's he'll teach him all the little things that he's been forced to learn because he doesn't have the talent. And also, if you're Blaze, let's say you go to a bottom-tier side that's desperate for a fullback right now on a decent wicket, the pressure that's going to be on you that first year, so you'll go to a bottom-8 side that's already struggling. I know the Eels are already struggling, but at the very least at the Eels, you'll be pointed to, you're way down the list on who is getting pointed at as to why results aren't good. Mitchell Moses at the top, then it's Gutho, then it's maybe Dylan Brown or Junior Bolo or RCG, then it's, whereas if you go to a bottom-8 side on a big contract and they go struggle again, you may be playing decent footy, but they'll still point the finger at you because you were the guy that was supposed to get signed and get us out of the spot. So I hope it gets sorted. I think that another year in the outside backs would be perfect. And then that's when you can do the swap. You do another year in the outside backs, then you do the next preseason of fullback. That's when Gutho would be another year older. You put Gutho in the centre maybe, or on the, even on the wing maybe, or even, move some other people around. But yeah, I think that would be my way forward. People that are talking of he has to be fullback next year, I think it might be just a little bit too early. But who knows? I understand the pressure on the club. You got a young superstar that's so talented, or potential superstar. You don't want to lose them because they could be club defining, especially in a key position. I want to give a shout out to Will Benzini. I think in a year that's been fucking terrible for the Eels, he's been so good for them. So good. It's probably been his best year.
It has been his best year, yeah. And I think sometimes we forget just how young he is, same age as Suoli over at the Roosters. And, mate, it wasn't that. It was a few years ago that they lost Michael Jennings, and, that should have been chaos for the Parramatta Eels. And this kid just came in, and from the moment he started, he played so far above his weight, far above his salary he was on, and he continues to. I love him. I think he's such a good player, Will Pensini.
Yeah. Already on to Broncos versus the Bulldogs. Bulldogs defeat the Broncos 41-16. What a watershed moment for the Bulldogs. An absolutely incredible win. And, you know, if anyone had any doubts that this club has turned around, I think this win completely puts it to bed, because they were, like we all expected, you know, heading into this game, you know, especially even on Packer Up Boys, we spoke about it constantly. The fact that the Bulldogs were $3 was outrageous.
Yeah.
It was actually outrageous. We thought, at the very least, the Bulldogs would defend their way to victory. There is not a single person in rugby league that thought that they would go up there and absolutely put the Broncos to the sword with their attack. It was an incredible display of coaching from Ciraldo. He's clearly watched a bunch of vision, identified massive weaknesses in the Broncos' defensive, and he exploited that for the whole 80 minutes. The Bulldogs, it is an exciting time. What's crazy is this is just the beginning. This is the squad that they wrangled together with players that just happened to be on the market or other clubs were willing to release. Think of a lot of those guys they signed in the offseason were players other clubs were willing to release. That's how crazy it is. That's how good the system is right now that Ciraldo has. And they did it all without Crichton. It's an amazing victory. It's arguably, look, the Broncos were terrible, but it's arguably one of the best victories for the club in the last 4 or 5 years. It was an amazing victory. And I tell you what, right now, they have a very, very good chance of making the top 4. And they deserve every plaudit they get after a victory like this. They were incredible.
You talk about guys too, Kempy, that they've only got guys they've been able to sign. They've also gone into a lot of meetings with a lot of big players and walked and gone, no, that's not our guy. Whether it be Mitch Moses, AFB, these sort of guys, they've said no on a number of occasions as well, which is sometimes just the strongest thing you can say. Going up there though, mate, the way they move the football, it's been so long since I've seen a Bulldogs side that just looks like they love playing footy. And they were just having the time of their lives up there the other day. I was in the preseason a big fan of Drew Hutchinson, and even until about round 10 or so, I remember having the conversation with Matty. I was pushing back saying I didn't think Toby Sexton make that much of a difference. I think he's made an enormous difference coming in.
Mate, he went up to Suncorp and put the Broncos to the sword. We're talking Adam Reynolds, Ezra Mann. So basically I sent Matty this message because I wanted to basically go through this as an exercise. Team against team. Reece Walsh, Connor Tracy, who you picking every day of the week? Reece Walsh. Cobbo Wilson, Cobbo. Stags, Kiraz, Stags. Mariner, Jerry, Mariner. Jesse Arthurs, Skelton, Jesse Arthurs. Ezra Mann, Burton. Some people would pick Mann. Some people, if you were going to sign one of those people, some people would sign Mann, but we'll just give you Burton. Sexton, Reynolds, you'd go Reynolds. Jensen, Curran. Before this year, everyone would have selected Jensen. Billy Walters, Reed Marnie. Payne Haas, Sam Hughes, Haas. Hetherington, Kickow, you'd go Kickow. Ricky, Preston. I mean, I think a lot of people would have picked Ricky heading into this year, but we'll give you Preston. Paddy Carrigan, Kurt Mann, Paddy Carrigan. Out of that starting set 13 that played each other, on paper, there's probably 3 Bulldogs players that would even get close to starting in this Broncos side. And yet they got absolutely dusted. That shows you what special things are being built at the Bulldogs.
Yeah, the Broncos were terrible in this game, but the Bulldogs made them look terrible. And it was a coaching masterclass from Cameron Ciraldo.
Yep.
And all this hype around him last year and going into taking over the Doggies, and it didn't sort of quite come to fruition last year. Shock. First year at a new club with completely roster that you've inherited. On the weekend, it didn't take a great diehard footy fan and analyst to see that it was just edge to edge, and Ciraldo and the Doggies identified that's where the Broncos are weak. They've got these juggernauts in Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan through the middle, and they go, we won't take you on there. We'll go at you where you're weak. And it was just relentless. From one edge to the other, to the other, to the other. They just kept going at them, and they had success every time they did it. It was ruthless from them. Yep. And it's one thing to say you do it, but playing that type of footy and throwing it side to side, it can go pear-shaped very quickly, but it was so controlled, it was so calculated, and for them to do it at 75 whatever plus % they completed at, It was just such high quality football.
Yeah, and you actually, I think if you go on back and watch even his first time he played Penrith, but maybe this year as well. But if you go back and watch, he tried a similar game plan, and it actually did worry the Penrith Panthers a bit. And funnily enough, it's Manly do it as well to a degree, that coming out of your own end, spreading it quite early. And Manly, when the Broncos were playing much better footy, it troubled the hell out of the Brisbane Broncos. But yeah, the Bulldogs executed even better and completed a higher percentage for at least the first half. And it was unstoppable. And the Broncos' inability to identify that and adjust was like genuinely mind-blowing, like because it just kept happening. It just kept. But we'll get to the Broncos. But yeah, the Bulldogs. What's so exciting is, guys, this is a team right now that has arguably the best young talent in the NRL ready to come into it in the next 2 to 3 years. Could be next year. So the next 12 to 24 months, you'll start to see filtered in some of the best young talent in the competition into this side already that is currently top 6 and could be top 4 by the end of the year.
Not to mention, like, even just next week, Stephen Crichton will come back in, I believe, and I think Josh
he's out indefinitely, Critter, I think.
No, I think he'll be back from what I've heard. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What I've been told. Apparently he was close to playing last week.
Okay, I read it was nerve damage and they were a bit concerned. Anyway, all right, yep.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm only going what I've been told. But anyway, when Stephen Crichton and Josh Addo-Carr's close to returning too, like, you've got to find two backs to drop there.
Well, I mean, like, I guess the argument is like, Fox, you're bringing back him because he's a senior player, but if it was just a blank slate right now, it'd be hard for him to come back into the side.
It's just been next man up mentality all season for them, isn't it? Like, said they lose Critter, they lose Fox. Blake Wilson's been terrific. Drell Skelton was outstanding on the weekend. I didn't realise how quick he was. We knew he was powerful. He's got the speed as well. And then you look at Max King, a very key bloke in this forward pack to their middles. He goes down long term. Curran, they shift him into a starting role. Sammy Hughes had an opening stint of about 20 minutes. I don't think he came back onto the field. So,
mate, Curran has been like, I cannot believe how good he is in the front row. Like,
look at the Doggies bench. You mentioned the starting 13s. Look at their bench. Hayward, Hopoi, Morin, and Hayes. And they came out and just destroyed them.
Yeah. Well, I think, no, Hayes didn't get any minutes. Hayes didn't play, I don't think.
I thought he did. Could be wrong.
Hayes Perham?
No. Harry Hayes.
Oh, Harry
Sorry,
Hayes. My bad. I was like...
Stitch up.
Hayes Perham. Harry Hayes. Yeah, and Harry Hayes, did he debut last week as well?
He's a beast, that
He's
kid.
a fucking big boy.
Oh, my goodness.
But, like, you have a look at that bench, and, you know, I consider myself somewhat a big rugby league fan. Curtis Morin's the only one I would have recognised at the start of the year.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it is... This shouldn't happen. Like, it's incredible on one side. It's unacceptable on the other side from the Brisbane Broncos.
The next man up thing speaks to good coaching, though. You know, and obviously last year, this is where I'm holding out hope as a Tigers fan, because you compared them to the Dogs of last year. You know, it was a bit of a mess. They had to get rid of a lot of players, but now everyone pretty clearly knows what their role is. So when they come in, they're able to do it so well. And they absolutely towed them up on the weekend. Here's their run home, by the way. A lot of winnable games here. Raiders, Dragons, Dolphins, Warriors, Manly, a bit of a tough one, and Cowboys probably a pretty tough one as well.
But all winnable.
All winnable. Yeah. They're sitting 5th. They're 550 to make the top 4.
Incredible.
Yeah, with Crichton to come back in and a couple of other players to come back in.
And just, it's amazing. Like, here's another one. Like, Bronson Cherry, he came back in off a 4-year suspension. A 4-year suspension. He's been so solid for them, and we've barely heard of people. Like, there's been no drama about it, as in there's been no headlines written about it. Yep. And that's just testament to incredible coaching. It's absolutely amazing. And it's what's good about the game for the Bulldogs fans, I guess, is if you ever, sometimes it's really hard to see, like, what impact does a coach have? Like you can look at selections, but selections are just one part and sometimes a smaller part of what makes a good coach. Watching the tactical brilliance of Ciraldo and just pick a team apart like that. Oof. And you've got this coach that's like one of the youngest coaches in the competition, so he can be around for a very long time. Like, as I said, like, this team on paper should be nowhere near where they're at. Like, the fact that Curran went up to Suncorp against Paddy Carrigan, Jensen and Haas and arguably outplayed them, like, if you've met Curran, this guy is honestly the size of a small outside back. Like, he's not big. And yet he just took it to a Broncos forward pack filled with Origin players. Incredible.
I posted on social media the other day, they're the only team this year to not concede 30-plus points in a game, and they're the only team to do it since the Melbourne Storm in 2021.
Wow.
Amazing. Just amazing. Connor Tracy, let's talk about him. 3 tries, 3 try assists, 24 runs, 185 metres, 20 post contacts, 7 tackle breaks, a line break, 3 line break assists, 2 offloads. Again, he's just a really good example of when a player buys into a system, and when 17 players buy into a system, you can do things like this. Like, greatness awaits if you're all willing to buy in. And you look across the, to the other side, the Brisbane Broncos, all the talent in the world, but are currently not buying in. And, a champion team will beat a team of champions. And that's what you saw on the weekend with the Bulldogs. It's that simple. And Connor Tracy is the pin-up boy for that, because, honestly, the talent Reece Walsh has is infinite. And yet Connor Tracy completely wiped the floor with him in this game. And granted, I understand that, yes, they both have different players playing with them, and this forward pack maybe got better than this forward pack. But when you've got a team of champions versus a champion team, then the rewards for key players will be what Connor Tracy did. And I know some people sit there and go, well, Reece Walsh in that Bulldog side would have done something similar. I get all that. For sure, he would have. We're talking about one of the game's biggest superstars that can barely walk down the street. Rightly so. He's an incredible athlete. He's an incredible rugby league player. Yeah, against Connor Tracy, who honestly could walk down the street and a lot of people probably wouldn't recognise him. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Well, mate, I was at a charity event last year, and Connor Tracy was there with his camera doing some vlog sort of content. I stood there for about 5 minutes, 3 metres away from him going, is that Connor Tracy or not?
Yeah.
And he was just so unassuming, and there's not much to him that I walked away and thought, oh, it's not. Then I saw him actually post some content from it. Just crazy. And he is... have you had him in here for an interview?
No.
He'd be an absolute cracker, mate. The amount of things he's had to overcome in his career, the amount of, even you look back to the start of this year, he arrives at Canterbury and Blake Taft's the first choice fullback. He finds himself sitting in reserve grade again, has to do it all over again for the 3rd club in a row. And now it just seems crazy to, when was the last time we spoke about Stephen Crichton playing fullback?
Yeah.
We couldn't shut up about it in the pre-season.
Yeah.
We were literally sitting here saying, and I was guilty of it, you've signed Crichton, you've come through some tough times, you have to just give this bloke a crack at fullback. And now you're sitting back 3 quarters later through the regular season going, Serrato's just nailed it. He's nailed everything.
In our defence, we did have Connor Tracy ahead of...
We did,
yeah. Sure, yeah.
But we were all sitting here going, look at this spine. You need a superstar in this spine. And we were constantly saying, just put Critter in there, put Critter in there. And Thraldo just, like he did last year with the whole defensive system, basically he gave that squad an opportunity to buy in. They didn't. And he just said, all right, well, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to live by the sword and die by the sword. So I'm going all in here. He believed in his system, and it has paid such big dividends. And Connor Tracy was electric. And it was just purely hard work. He just worked his ass off that whole game. Other players that were outstanding, Reid Marnie, geez. And what I love about the Dogs is that, on the come up, as they were coming into this position where everyone started going, oh, wow, 6 to 7 weeks ago, we were all sitting there going, ooh, I don't know if they make the top 8. Now we're all of a sudden saying, phew, they might make the top 4. Top 8, outside the top 8 would be incredibly disappointing. And when they were on their way up and they were spiteful and they were always getting in pushes and shoves and we were all kind of like, oh, I don't really enjoy that. But it has been that mentality of nah, we're not here. If you're a big dog club and you're beating us by X amount, we're not taking that lying down. We aren't accepting that we're the Bulldogs and we should be getting beaten by the Penrith Panthers or the Brisbane Broncos and the Melbourne Storm. No, we're going to make it a problem. We're going to bring back that old kind of antagonistic style. It's worked. It's worked. It has galvanised this side. So, yeah, props to them. It has been an incredible journey.
Kiros, mate, can jump from wing to centre. And, I think when people talk about that transition, they act like it's easy. He comes in to replace Stephen Crichton. He's arguably the best centre in rugby league right now. And every time he does, kills it.
I mean, I go back to the team list. This is on a team list where he was playing against a backline with Staggs, with Jesse Arthurs, with Mariner, with Selwyn Cobbo, with Reece Walsh. He outplayed every single one of them. Again, Tika. Working hard.
We've said it all season, but I think now more than ever, he's just got rep football written all over him, and who knows how far he can go. But certainly the Blues are on the radar pretty soon because he's got one of the, I'd argue, almost the best work ethic of any outside back in the competition. As Guru said, he can go between wing and centre effortlessly. He can slot in at fullback if required. He's just an absolute superstar. The question with the Dogs now is, how far can they go?
Yeah, it really is. And every time we doubt them, they just take another step.
Well, you look at them, and outside of Penrith, who I'm sceptical that anyone can beat on their day, but even Penrith, they went out to Bluebet Stadium, lost by 6 points, and
that result. Sorry to cut you off, Timmy.
Right.
Looking back on that result, I think we all don't get me wrong, we wrapped it up, but I think we all secretly were one off.
Yeah,
one off. They went out to Penrith. That's where they're at.
They lost against Melbourne in round 6, 2 points, down in Melbourne. They've beaten the Roosters this year. You just sit there and go, particularly if Penrith have an off night in a prelim final or something, get dusted, and the Dogs just sneak along, they've shown they can beat, I think, anyone in the comp. You can give or take Penrith, but you never know.
Well, and also, we're watching a Bulldogs side that at the start of the year had no attack. It was just all defence. Now, if we're seeing a side that is clicking in attack, that's could be the final ingredient to be a bit of a pest in the final series. Maybe they knock off a couple sides and they get into a prelim. Who knows?
And there are so many teams in that top 8 that are hot and cold. One week they're superstars, the next week they're awful. The Doggies every week, and Guru's stats, I think, sum it up around they're not conceding over 30. You know what you're going to get from them every week. They're going to put in. They're consistent. So they could have a big September coming up.
They lost the first 2 weeks of this season, 51-14.
Crazy. So incredible stuff from the Doggies. It's an amazing, and what a game to watch as well.
Absolutely. I just wanted to give a shout to the halves pairing. I know we spoke about, Sexton's in there now, but I think they're just nicely balanced. Burton, particularly if we have a look at the kicking game, Burton kicked for 408 metres, Toby Sexton 145, but it's pretty clear there when they get close to the line and there's, maybe a try on or, we're at the end of a set. I think Toby Sexton's been really impressive. He had a couple of kicks on the weekend where he forced a couple of dropouts. There's one where he just dropped it over the top. Do you remember that? It kind of landed almost on the line.
Well, his short kicking game is some of the best in the
It's amazing. Yep. He just looks really well organised. He's the organiser. Burton kind of runs it a bit more and does the long kicking, but I don't know, they look very well balanced right across the park.
Sexton, the year, and I've already said this, but the year that he left the Titans, he had the most repeat sets of any 7 in the competition.
Yep.
That's how good his short kicking game is. I forgot who I was speaking to. It might even been Bulldogs fans on the weekend. And they're like, oh, yeah, we just need a half. And I was like, Toby Sexton's 23 years old.
Yeah.
Give this bloke some time to build in. Why can't Sexton be the half? Tell me why. He's 23. Granted, if he had already been in the NRL for 10 years and this was the best that he had to offer, then I would be like, okay, I get that. We're talking about a half. Could you get his age up, please, Matty? There's 23 years old, 24 max. He has so much time to develop it. He's 23. Why can't he be the half? I don't look at his game and say he can't develop into a top 4 half.
Absolutely. I've liked him from the second he went down to the Doggies and played a few games at the back end of last year. I was hoping the Raiders were going to sign him, and there's so much talent there. He's pretty solid defensively. He's only going to get bigger and bigger. Kicking game's good. You sort of summed it up well, Kempy, but he can be a long-term halfback for them.
Just had a quick look through their schedule this year. Since round 2, once they got themselves sorted, they've conceded more than 3 tries in a game 3 times.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
They were the worst defensive side by a mile last year.
In the club's history. Literally in the club's history, I'm pretty sure, or at least second or worst. What an incredible win. What an absolutely incredible win. And, they did it without, Kickout didn't even play that well, which is insane. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I thought Preston, forgot to mention him, but Preston, I thought he was outstanding. And he's another guy. He's been injured for a lot of the year. There was periods there where he was on the bench.
Mate, he went straight through the big fella. He went through Paddy Carrigan for one of his line breaks.
Yeah.
No one does that.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? When you look at the sides that Madge picked this year and whatnot, I don't reckon Preston will be too far away.
He reeks to me of just early Josh Jackson. Really destructive edge, ball runner, runs a great line, attacking him. People probably forget about that because the back end of Josh Jackson's career, he moved to the lock and more of just an up and down middle forward, but seems like a great fella, great work ethic. he's special.
Poor old Reece Walsh didn't see him coming either, did he? Cut him in half as well.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the Broncos. Really, really poor performance. And unfortunately, I think some really hard, honest conversations need to be had across the entire club. I think that you look at since Seabold left, went 14th, 9th, 2nd. Now it's looking like, they'll probably, if they keep playing like this, they'll be bottom 4. I'll just get the ladder up.
13th.
Currently 13th. They have the same amount of wins as... Sorry, they've got a game in hand, but they're on 20 points like the Titans. So let's just say they finished 13th. We'll just say they finished 13th or 12th. That would be 14th, 9th, 2nd, and 12th. And with the roster they have, I think a lot of Broncos fans could understand the rebuild of the 14th, the 9th, the 2nd, and then you stay in the top 8 and you kind of work from there. You might not necessarily make a grand final each year, but you work in that top 8 kind of area and you build towards hopefully another grand final appearance. But unfortunately, that has not happened. And I think as a club, we can't hang our hats on. We made a grand final last year. Therefore, everything that we're doing right now is okay. I think we need to look at it as a whole block. I think some very harsh and tough conversations need to be had. I've got concerns about both assistant coaches are moving on at the end of the year. What's happening there? Why is that happening? And I think that it's a disaster. It's a disaster year. And, I think that a lot of Broncos fans, and I think we as a club, were hoping that you were looking at it going, okay, a lot of injuries and origin or whatever, and things will turn around. That hasn't happened. And I said it before the game as well. Even with their full-strength squad during this year, they haven't been anywhere near their best, and they've dropped games. It's a disaster year, and it's, as I said, some really tough conversations need to be had, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on pretty much all key roles heading into next year.
You putting the red Sharpie through them?
They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it.
I'm not officially doing it because they've got a soft run home. I think they might have the Storm or someone as their only particularly tough game. I can't put a Sharpie through a team with Walsh, Carrigan, Haas, but on what we've seen, there's no reason why they will go on a run, but I can't put it through them just yet.
If they don't make the 8 this year, that's the last 3 teams Penrith have beaten grand finals. Last 3 years aren't in the top 8 this year. That's unbelievable.
Shows you how good Penrith are. Just incredible, an incredible club. So look, they can technically still make the 8 or whatever. They don't deserve to make the 8.
No.
It's that simple.
And it's
we don't deserve to make the 8.
The theme of the entire year has been with the Broncos complacency. And I just thought, with these boys coming back from Origin, I don't see how you can be complacent when you're sitting 13th and you essentially need to win every game to play finals football. That's embarrassing for this club to not play finals footy this year. I thought they'd get up for it. And from the second this game kicked off, you look like you expected. The Origin boys backed up last week. You beat the Knights in a relatively convincing win. You look like you expected to do that again. You were going to come out. Reece Walsh was going to wave his wand. You were going to score points and cruise on through. You're waiting for it to happen. Individual moments of brilliance, and it was the furthest thing from it. You mentioned earlier, Kempy, but you weren't playing as a team.
Nah, that edge defence, I cannot believe for the life of me that when that first got stripped at the first 2 times, they said, oh shit, we're getting stripped of numbers here. Let's communicate. Let's identify where the ball's going to land, as in key players. So for example, oh shit, they're setting up for a wide play. Burton is usually the second pass. Someone land on Burton before he gets the ball. I don't let's get up and get in their face. Now, granted, if they do that as a unit and they still get skimmed somehow, fair enough, we get back to the training paddock. What I can't understand is no changes were made at all the entire match. It's just, and I just think that too many poor habits, the amount of players out there that are playing where they don't even look like they really want to be playing, they're not ripping and tearing. I think there's clearly some environment issues. I think there's clearly some standard issues internally. Their defence has fallen off a cliff. This is a team that in some stats was a better defensive side than Penrith last year. Unfortunately, I think that it's a squad that seems to be okay with where they're at. It doesn't seem like a desperate squad at the moment. And so it's some tough conversations need to be had. Just that simple.
Oh, yeah. I thought going into halftime of this game, like you're only down by 6 points, but that try that Tony Staggs scored on halftime, that was like lights out. Broncos at their best sort of stuff. And I thought, fuck, I wonder if that can maybe just be the switch that potentially they play some footy, but they just got shell-shocked in the second half.
Playing as individuals. Like, that was an individual brilliance. Reece Walsh's try was individual brilliance. Like, they're not playing as a team, as a unit. Like, the miss that Paddy Kerrigan had on Preston, Paddy never does that. And that's my concern is, why is Paddy doing that? What is going on that has Paddy in such a frame of mind that he's going to miss a tackle like that? Like, are they overtrained? Are they undertrained? Are they tired? Is he beaten up? Is he playing injured? There's a lot more questions that I have than just the performance on the field. I'm very, very concerned about... I think the club is in a very, very concerning position that a grand final appearance is clearly just painting over. Because this squad on paper, we should be absolutely annihilating teams.
Let's add 2 more plays to that, and I'm actually less critical of Carrigan because he was trying to get across. He just missed a tackle. As good as he is, like, it happens. Reece Walsh, chips and chases on halfway to himself, which is fine if it's on, but there was just nothing on. I get it, you're chasing points, not on. Payne Haas, very hard to critique Payne Haas, but Grubbers for himself on 4th tackle on the line. Like,
this is all individual. Yeah, like, this isn't working as a team.
And you talk about working as a team, Kempy. I look back to the Broncos in all those consecutive years where they didn't play finals footy, and I looked at their middle forwards and their shape in and around the ruck, and there was none of it. It blew my mind how often they were just these boppers going up, one off by themselves, not running in support, no ball movement off the dummy half. Last year, you got on top of it, and you were running in pairs. You're running in pairs with players out the back, and it was just so destructive, and no one could stop you go forward. I'm watching again this year, and it's like, all right, who wants to have the next run? Who wants to have the next run? Why, when you've got these 2 Adonises in, Paddy Carrigan, Payne Haas, who like have great ball playing themselves, why they're not going to the line, particularly attacking the try line, go in there, tip onto each other, isolate blokes, you will roll. It's just one off. There's no shape.
That's what I mean. No shape, no response to the way the Bulldogs were tearing them apart. And that's why I think, like, what's happening at training? Like, what is this playing group being taught? Like, the fact there was no adjustments, they look a shell of themselves. Like, it's truly perplexing.
And when you talk about that shape and what the doggies put on, we said like they're going side to side, and how could the Broncos not adjust this? You knew it was coming. Because every bloke, when they'd go from the right side of the field to the left and back, they had forwards running lines and holding up defenders and not allowing him to just go, okay, they're going wide, let's just slide with them. Because the doggies had the shape and everyone was doing their job, they couldn't afford to do it.
It's tough, like you look at that, because they do so well off the field as a club, sometimes I feel like, does that make the players kind of feel like they're doing better than they are? I'm not really sure. But, tough watching the Broncos at the moment, but hopefully they can turn around. Obviously, always be backing them in, always be backing them to turn it around, but I do think that some very tough conversations need to be had at the club, and I think that a grand final appearance, hopefully, isn't excusing where we're at right now. I hope that people aren't going, oh, well, we made the grand final that year, therefore it's not as big as a problem as it is. No, right now, our last 4 years, as I said, 14th, 9th, 2nd, and potentially 13th this year, with this roster, it is like mind-blowing. Like, this roster seriously should be constantly giving Penrith... It should be Penrith Panthers and the Broncos and maybe the Roosters and Storm just like constantly having these battles like that you wouldn't have believed you could see before. But Broncos are nowhere near that level at the moment.
Ezra, defensively, like, I know he's never a stud in D, but he's just fallen off a cliff. The one shining light I will give the Broncos, and look, if I went back, I know the edges got torn apart, so I could probably find missed tackles or whatever, but watching the game yesterday, or the other day, Tony Staggs, I thought, was outstanding for you. There was obviously the solo try, but even defensively, there are a couple of times where, like, Sherry and Wilson, like, had him beaten on the edge, and I'm like, they're too speed, so I'm like, he's done. He'd get across. I think he took Wilson out at one point. He chopped Sherry down a couple of times. Again, all in all, probably not great, but I thought he had some massive moments. He jammed Connor Tracy at 16-0 down for an error. Reece Walsh scored off the next set. Those are some big moments from him.
I still think that edge reads are just not good reads. Like, we got absolutely dusted. Anyway, so hopefully they can turn around.
Big game this weekend. Broncos-Titans. Titans at home, they're at about $3, the Titans.
Mate, they should be...
Throw everything at you.
They should be way... what I don't understand with the Broncos, as I said, even when we've had our best players, we haven't put that together that good a footy. So, very, 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 very poor performance. There's no other way to There's no other way to really describe it. All right, it's time for our mate Dwayne Bennett. Dwayne, the Dolphins, tough afternoon yesterday.
Mate, it was tough, but the effort from the boys was incredible and, wasn't enough to secure the win, of course. We've got some tough matches ahead, including the battle for Brisbane or Finland at the end of next month. Also, we're coming to the end of Cuzzy Wayne's reign as coach. So, we know Cuzzy Wayne has always got a few tricks up his sleeve that will help, hopefully, get the Dolphins into the top 8 and keep them there. We'll see what happens. Our next game is over in Perth against the Chooks, and I've sent over the magnificent budget direct fins from our supporters in WA. So, we might get some more supporters for the fins over there.
Awesome, mate. What's the question this week?
Mate, good question from Simon. He's a Bulldog supporter. We're assuming that the Storm and the Panthers take first and second spot, all right? Who will be third and fourth to end the regular season?
Oh, okay. So assuming the Storm and Panthers get 1 and 2, who is going to finish in 3 or 4? That is a great question. Look, I'm going to go. I think Roosters will finish in the top 4. And then, it's a tough one. At the moment, it's between the Bulldogs and the Cowboys for me in that top 4 position. You know what? I'm going Doggies. They're looking unbelievable. They went up there. They are absolutely dominated the Broncos. I'm going Doggies for the Cinderella story to finish in the top 4.
Have you got the Sharkies falling out of there?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think the Roosters, with a bye up their sleeve, I think they'll definitely be there. I think the Sharkies hold on. I think they'll stay. I think it's Sharkies and Bulldogs for me, but I'm going to back the Sharkies to hold on.
Okay, Sharkies.
Yeah, Roosters will be there. Sharkies, Dogs, between those two for me. And I think the Smokies are Manly with a bye this week, and they have quite a soft draw home. The Sharkies have a good draw. Dogs have a pretty good draw. I don't have the Cowboys there because they have quite a tough run home. I think the Seagulls are Smokies and can make a run for it.
Well, there you go, Dwayne, mate. What's the update with the Finlanders?
Mate, well, it's now the home stretch, the finals, and it's our last push to get more people signed up to become Finlanders. So, Denon, I've been out there spreading the message about the fantastic Finns and reminding everyone they should be looking for a second team to support. And who better for that team to be the Finns? So, footy fans, if your team isn't where they should be at the end of this season, all right, now's the time to jump on another team. So get behind the Finns and become a Finlander. It's easy. All you have to do is just sign up and at finland.com.au, download your digital passport on your smartphone. Don't forget, you Finlanders out there, get the iconic, the magnificent budget direct Finns sent to their home address. And third and fourth for me. It'd be silly for me not to say. The Finns. Fins up!
Oh, there you go, mate.
And I'm going to go the Roosters.
Okay. Okay, there he is. Head to finland.com.au and sign up to an official Finlander to get your digital Finland passport. And like me, become an official Finlander. Thanks, mate. Alrighty, Cowboys defeat the Sharks. Don't forget, guys, grab a case of bloke beer. It's beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates, and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. And also got the Roo, his hat, dropping tonight, 6 p.m. Give SC Playbook a follow. Give Roo a follow. Give Hammy a follow. Give everyone a follow. We've got podcasts. Give me something.
Yep.
Give SC Playbook one a follow on Instagram. Lol jokes. We don't exist at the moment.
What's happened?
I had my account suspended.
What for?
I don't know.
What did it say?
It said it was something to do with identity, and it wasn't authenticated, and it's been it's been 10 or 11 days. SC Playbook's been off Instagram. Yeah, and I've just been fighting it tooth and nail and trying to get it back up and just going nowhere. So shout out to the one that works at Meta out there who can get some shit done for me. Thank you to the people trying to help me, but, mate, we're going nowhere.
You're trying to use
probably all the lookalikes.
Zach Hosking's passport when you're trying to verify your identity.
So are they trying to say that you aren't SC Playbook?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with it's SC Playbook, but Tim Williams isn't underneath it, and then I use my identity, my passport, and it's actually Timothy Williams. There's all sorts of shit going on, mate.
Oh, my God.
So if anyone can help, that would be wonderful.
Meta, reach out. Come on. So if anyone help with verification, reach out. Holy shit, I can't get verified on socials.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Yeah,
As
while
in,
you're helping
like-
me out, get the boys
Yeah.
verified.
Well, I'm hoping now that I'm strong Alexandria member of the month, I'll probably get the blue tick by next time we do an
So
episode.
if anyone at Facebook, Meta, anywhere, help us get verified. Help Timmy get his SC Playbook back.
Who was your top competition down at Strong?
Well, I'll be honest with you, my partner Mon's filthy that she goes a lot more than I do. So I've been.
So they've given it to you, even though you know what, they're trying to butter you up so you come more.
I think that probably is what they're doing, but I'll take it.
Okay,
Take
fair
what I
enough.
can get. Got a free singlet and a bottle of prosecco. So.
Alrighty, Cowboys defeat the Sharkies 30-22. The Cowboys had not previously defeated the Sharks in Townsville since 2018, so you would have expected the Cowboys to have a big one, but actually history suggests that they hadn't been able to beat the Sharkies. But yeah, Cowboys get it done, and man, the Cowboys are looking so much better. And I've got to put my hand up. 10 weeks ago, maybe even 8 weeks ago, I was sitting there going, mate, is Payton's job under pressure? Like this Cowboys side should be pushing for premierships, and they are nowhere near what we think they should be. Anyway, they go on this run. All of a sudden, especially the last couple of weeks, they seem to have sorted their defensive issues out, their try line defense. They get a great win against the Sharkies. Yeah, the Sharkies scored a late try off a did and drop ball. This is a really, really good win for the Cowboys, because I actually don't think the Sharkies were that bad. Granted, obviously missing Hines, but really, really good for the Cowboys. And I think Payton deserves a massive rap. He's still essentially a rookie coach, and his ability to turn things around at the right time of the season, they are a smoky to make the top four now. They're currently sitting 6th, I think.
Yep.
That is unbelievable.
It's incredible. And that's what I mean. Like, I've got to put my hand up. Maybe Payton should be under pressure 10 weeks ago. Now I'm sitting here going, what is it managed to achieve in such a tightly run comp? They have played 19 games. They're on 26 points. Matter of fact, they actually have
Game in hand.
a game in hand, which would have them in the top four on points. And I'll just look at their points differential. So the Sharkies have a better points differential, but they essentially are on the same points as the Sharkies are right now. So they're in the top four right now. What an incredible job by Payton, and what an incredible job by the Cowboys to turn around.
Big test for them this weekend, though, Thursday night against the Tigers at Leichhardt. So, it's not a sure thing they're going to make the top four. They've actually got a pretty good run home, just quietly as well. They've got the Tigers, the Broncos, not going that well at the moment. The Raiders, probably a tough game, obviously the bye. And then they bring it home with a couple of tough games, the Storm and the Dogs. But the next couple of weeks, you'd imagine they'd get a few more points under the belt.
Well, it sounds like the Storm are going to rest players for that game. So, it looked like a tough draw. They're at home as well for the most majority of those games. So, and I just, in this game, they lost Taumalolo and Ruben Cotter in the first 25 minutes or so. Honestly, this Cowboys team plays better the worse the situation is. When everything's going well and they're all available and they're all fully fit, they struggle. They're a bizarre football side.
Yep. Thoughts on the game?
They're been so hard to assess this year, the Cowboys. They were so inconsistent early on. You're just going, are they a good team? Are they a bad team? There are enough down weeks that I just don't think they can have the longevity this season. They've gone on to win 7 of their last 9 games. Their only loss by over 6 points since round 7. They had that one Warriors blowout in round 14. Outside of that, they haven't lost a game by over 6 points. They've been nothing but consistent since round 7. I'd take my hats off to them, because as Guru said, when Cotter and Taumalolo went off early in the first half, I just went, they're already, in my opinion, a little light on middles, or particularly quality of middles, and they've been 2 of their best middles this season. And they dug in against a Shark side that have been quite good. It was a huge win.
What about the left edge? Holmes and Murray Talangi, they combined for 5 line breaks and 3 line break assists. Kyle Feld on the other wing scored 3 tries.
Yeah.
They've just got so much attack in them. It's crazy.
They are genuinely, if they can keep going on this trajectory, they have an incredible squad. It's been a great, and to be fair, even the Sharkies, I thought they played really well, the Sharkies.
Yeah.
I don't think, people that are the Cowboys and the Sharks, if you just didn't watch the games, you didn't look at the ladder, but you just got a vibe of what the NRL community was saying about them midway through the year, you would have thought that they're sitting bottom 4 right now. Seriously, like the chatter around these teams has been so negative. But both of them, I mean, the Sharkies are still in the top 4, which shows you just how important a good start to the year is. It's just like, seriously, it set your whole year up. Granted, I understand from the Sharkies' perspective, their last batch hasn't been that great, but they're still in the top 4. They're still fighting. But yeah, the Cowboys, for me, they're definitely one of the dark horses. Them and Manly are truly ones, if they click, they can really make a dent. What a great win from him. What a great win from him. In regards to individual performances, I thought Neem was outstanding. Like, he's a guy where, you know, we always speak about your Taumalolos or your McLeans, but Neem, who was also actually represented New Zealand, so, you know, he's a representative player now. He has just been toiling away, doing his job. And also, what I like about the Cowboys is their ability to bring in a guy like, so Lukey gets rested, essentially, like he's got a bit of a hamstring tightness. They bring in Fini Fuiaki, who plays really, really well. Like, their depth in certain positions is good. And yeah, Griffin Neem, for me, I thought he was one of their best players. He was outstanding.
Yeah, off the back of Neem, like he only played 39 minutes. He ran for 180 metres.
Like, he did his job incredibly well.
And you know what I love? No errors.
Yeah.
That's become a big worry with him this year, that I always think, he's on the front foot, he's doing well, and there's always just one error just about every single game. And in this game, they couldn't afford it. And, mate, he stood up big time. When you lose Ruben Cotter and Taumalolo, someone had to stand up, and he was the guy. 5
tackle breaks as well. 177 metres. 5 tackle breaks, 61 post-contact, 15 tackles, 2 misses. And, like, that's in when you have premiership runs, this is what you need happening. You need guys like a Neem, who was already a quality player, but just taking that next step and, you know, almost, you know, becoming an unsung hero like Jensen did for the Broncos last year. Like Flegler did, he took that next step up.
Well, as you said, like, Taumalolo got 10 minutes. Cotter played 19 minutes. Someone had to really lift. He was that man.
He was that guy. So he was outstanding. But my other bloke, Scotty Drinkwater, he was absolutely electric. And he's a guy that, you know, I actually had him in contention for the New South Wales fullback jersey towards the back end of last year, just because I thought, you know, maybe he can offer something different in attack. And look, I still believe in my point that Scotty Drinkwater, with that field position that you guys had this year, he would have been an absolute menace. But I do think this year defensively, he's probably regressed a little bit.
Yep.
And also, he probably hasn't been at the form that he was at times last year. Recently, though, and especially on the weekend, I thought he was outstanding, Scotty Drinkwater.
Especially when they got to the back end of the game, they just completely leaned into him, which I'm not sure how you guys felt, but I just felt like they didn't get him enough good ball in the first half. Because, mate, when he just gets good ball and, like, he doesn't need an advantage. He just creates things out of absolutely nothing.
You give him fast ruck speed and field position, he will terrorise oppositions.
Yeah.
Terrorise oppositions. And also what I like about Scotty is, like, he does risky plays, but he's reined it in just a little bit. So he actually has reduced his errors quite substantially. And he doesn't throw that crazy pass that he might have thrown maybe 2 or 3 years ago where you go, mate, just rein it in just a little bit. So Drinky was mad for me.
And there was at one point in this game, he threw a pass over the sideline. I personally thought Kyle Felt missed his assignment on that one.
That's when Kyle Felt went for the kick.
I think he thought there was a kick coming. Yeah.
Whereas if Felt was where he was probably going to be, it would have been perfect pass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Scott Drinkwater was outstanding for me.
He's remarkable, and that's it. The Cowboys attack off the back of him, they'll be scary to play come finals time because they've got so many points. Guru already mentioned that the left edge, it was the best game the left edge have had this season between Taulagi and Val Holmes. They would just distract him. They'd get him on the edges, and then Val would just turn Taulagi back on his inside, and he'd cut straight through. Scotty Drinkwater's stats this year: 19 games, 7 tries, 20 try assists, 10 line breaks, 83 tackle busts. They're frightening, and yeah, I had my concerns about whether or not their middles can hold up against the best teams in the competition. And look, if we're talking like Penrith and Roosters, I'll still have my concerns. But, you know, they knocked off the Roosters not that long ago, and I feel so much more confident about them and how deep they can go because they lost 2 of their key middles in this game, and whoever came in, they stood up. So, yeah, no, they can do it without them if things go wrong. So, yeah.
Did the same during the Origin period too. Those guys came in, your McIntyres and whatnot.
Yeah, and as I said, you've got to give Toddy Payton a rap because, you know, at the end of the day, he finished, third, first year? And then last year they missed the top 8. But now it's looking like they've got a chance to finish top 4 be very surprised if they make top 8. For a rookie coach, that's a pretty good resume so far.
Especially for a bloke who was under a lot of pressure early on this year. We were going, had concerns around them, had concerns around Payton. He's gone, no. He said stuck to his guns.
Val Holmes, probably best game in a couple of weeks.
Ironically, because now they're saying tap him on the shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. Well, played really well. Moved back to the centres, obviously, a line break, 3 line break assists, a try assist, and 4 tackle breaks. Handful. What do you reckon to the Dragons? Do you think? Obviously, it'd be a good fit for them because they're losing Lomax. They need an outside back who can kick goals as well. But be a bit of a loss for the Cowboys.
Bit of a weird one with the Dragons because, Zach Lomax was on reportedly around your $800,000, as an outside back, and so I highly doubt Val Holmes is going to take a pay cut. Now I know that first year, the Cowboys are probably going to have to chip some in, but the second and third year, or let's say it's a 2-year deal or 3-year deal. You'd assume he's going to want at least $700,000 to $800,000 a year, and so look, the Dragons made this decision when Lomax wasn't doing what he was doing, so I guess that's where it kind of makes sense. But I think that they're probably going to look for a bit of a like for like with Lomax, where he's a goal kicker, can play pretty much anywhere in the outside backs, and they'll probably land him that first year really cheap. Well, not really cheap, but I think the Cowboys will probably chip in $100,000 or $200,000, and then the second year for about $800,000 in this new salary cap. Pretty bloody good for a guy like Holmes, especially he's had one. The weird thing about Holmes is you can't say he's had a bad year because there's one part of his game where he's been his attack has always been great. It's just defensively in some errors he's made, but he's had one bit of down year. You have to remember last year was incredible. The year before that is incredible.
Where would you sign Val Holmes? As a centre, winger, fullback?
I like him as a winger.
Yeah.
Depending they just re-signed Sloan, so I don't think they'd be signing him down to be a fullback. I like him as a winger.
News has just come through there. They've said Jack Bird can look elsewhere. The Dragons.
Bird look elsewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. Sucks for Bird.
I think Bird would be terrific at the Eels. Funny enough, with Lomax also going, I just think to shore up the edge defence.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And even he can play multiple positions as well.
Yeah, I think he'd be good.
Yeah. Where would you play him, Root?
I prefer him as a winger, but I'd like to see what he could do returning to fullback.
Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Where would you play him, Timmy?
I think you don't sign him in a position you say, mate, you could be our centre, our winger, or our fullback. Particularly, I said with Lomax moving on, with Sloan, there's going to continue to be concerns around his game, his longevity in the NRL.
Well, he just got dropped, didn't he? So
yeah. So that's what I mean. So I think if you're going, mate, there's an opportunity for you at fullback. But I wouldn't lock him into any position, and I'm just as comfortable playing him in any.
Well, where would you, if you were going to select a side, where would you select him?
If I'm selecting, say, an Origin side and blank canvas, I like him on the wing as well.
Yeah.
But he's very versatile.
Yeah. Good goal kicker. I mean, it shows you how important goal kicking is. That the first thing we mentioned was he can replace Lomax as a goal kicker.
Yeah. Well, his goal kicking been more important in the last 3 weeks?
No.
It's literally, it's deciding what the ladder looks like at the moment.
It's crazy.
It'll also depend, Dragons, he has to sign at the Dragons. If he did end up at the Dragons, Moses Sully's got that left centre spot. I would not be touching him. That's perfect what's going on there. Yeah. Maybe he could go and play right edge centre, but I think on the left outside Moses Sully, not a bad spot to be.
I had my first punting rage on the weekend, and I don't even know why. Not my first, but it was the first time I was like, fuck you. And I wasn't even going to land the multi. It was just for my own ego, because I said that I reckon Sharks got a little bit overconfident with their win without Hines, and that the Cowboys would win 13 plus. But I also had Val Holmes anytime try scorer. But they're winning 13 plus, and then and just drops the ball randomly over his own freaking try line, and they score and take it out from 13 plus. And I'm just like, are you kidding, Dearden? Do you dislike me that much? So you're gonna fucking do that, make me look like an idiot?
He's so good to Dearden as well. You've had him for a couple of man of the matches.
I know. I backed him all in, and then he just randomly drops it. He had already caught it. He caught it, and then just let go of the ball. That was anyway.
I'll tell you what, if that's the worst bad beat you have.
No, it's not a bad beat. It's like raging at a player making a really dumb decision or play that made me look not as smart as I wanted to look.
Welcome to the rest of your life, Ken.
No. Bad beat was a bloke in a bar beat with Ola Kawatu.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year.
That was a G up.
Had an incredible multi. He was paying like 25.
Yeah, all the back rowers that had just missed out on Origin selection. I think this was more just like such an outrageously poor error from Dearden. Couldn't believe it.
Sorry, I misspoke before. Jack Bird has asked for permission to negotiate with rival clubs.
Oh, really?
Did you DM Tommy Dearden on Instagram?
Yeah,
abusing him?
screenshotted it and said, "Family can't eat now. Thanks heaps, mate." I thought Nanai was really good for the Cowboys. I thought that you could see I think with Nanai, it's almost like watch his first carry and how he does it, or his first tackle in defence, and it's going to tell you how he's going to play. If he is high energy, he's unstoppable. And I thought he was really high energy on the weekend. A try assist, 11 runs, 127 metres, 40 post contact, tackle break, a line break assist, 29 tackles, 5 misses, that's pretty good for Nanai, the fact that he got through that much work. I thought he was great.
He's just got the ability to be the best back row in rugby league for so long if he puts it all together.
A lot of his best attack over the years has been obviously off kicks, whether that's getting up in the air or just chasing them through. It's running a good hard line into space. What I noticed on the weekend and in recent weeks, they're just getting him early ball and he gets his one-on-one and he backs himself to beat his opposing defender every time, and he's doing it there was nothing remarkable. It was just early ball. He'd take him on, and he was just skinning them.
Yeah, he is scary. He's scary on the edge there.
21 years old as well.
I thought Murray Talangi as well come back with a bit of a vengeance. So, great game for the Cowboys. On to the Sharkies. 30-22 without Nico Hines. I'm pretty happy with that. I know they lost some players early, the Cowboys. I'm pretty happy with that at this stage. I know disappointing as a Sharkies fan, and granted the Cowboys kind of had the game in the bank with 5 to go or whatever, but as I said, without Nico Hines, I think it's a pretty good result.
Bit of a nothing game for the Sharkies for me. Hard to take all that much out of it. There's a photo going around of Mulatalo, who might be injured for a few weeks. You said that one last night?
No, I missed it.
Leg in a brace. So
it was on Instagram.
That could be a big play. It was, yeah. You would have loved it. But yeah, I obviously without Hines, it's pretty tough at the moment. I still reckon they're going to hold on to a top 4 spot. I think they're playing good enough footy. I just think they come up against a good side here, away from home.
Okay, what do you reckon?
It's a tough one because for those, I don't want to be too critical because I was so impressed at the Cowboys, but when they lose their 2 key middles that early, they already had a centre in Jackson Purdue on the bench. It left them really light on, and they missed a big opportunity, the Sharkies. I thought they will be left to rue it. I think they should have gone on and won this game, but am I not giving the Cowboys enough credit for how good they played? Because they were strong. I'm a little bit torn.
Well, I'm just looking at the rosters, both rosters at their best with the players they've got. I think that on paper I like the Cowboys roster more. But I see what you're saying. They are top 4 side, and then you go and you also look at their last batch of games. They have lost quite a few. So I see what you're saying.
They didn't play poorly as such.
That's what I mean. I'm looking at it from a perspective of when you watched them play, did that look like a side completely on the slide or not ripping and tearing? Not really. I thought they did pretty well to hang in there. And
long term, I don't think it's a concerning loss because they played all right. I just think it was one that got away off the back of the events that did happen.
That's fair. Get the player stats up. So we get the stats up. Post-contact meters, 14 less than the Cowboys. Essentially, Cowboys won most of their the stats, but the key one that stands out for me, and it's one where Nico, well, you could argue the defences, but it's one where Nico stands out is 11 line breaks to 4. 11 line breaks to 4. Now, maybe that's more the Sharks' poor defence, or it's more, Hines would have combated with their own line breaks, which would obviously reduce the Cowboys one. Tackle breaks, 39-31. Play the ball speed, essentially exactly the same. But so when I look at it just as a one-off, I go, yeah, not bad. The Sharkies, Cowboys, they're about the same place in the table. I guess the worrying but the thing for the Sharkies is, what's their last 6 games or 7 games? I think they've only won 1 or 2 games in their last 6 games or something like that. I guess that's where you go, but then when you watch them play, they're still playing like a top 8 side in my opinion.
Yeah, when you watch them play, there's no huge red flags there for me.
No.
I still think they're looking good. 2 debutants in this game too, Jaden Berrell.
Yeah, massive congratulations.
So boy.
Yeah, unreal. There's part of me that sort of, for the last few weeks, even last few months, I've been going, why is he still there? Like, why doesn't he go somewhere else? There's a number of nines in the competition that could do with a guy like him. He's hung in there, and I'm sure we all saw that clip on their Instagram the other day, except for Tim, obviously. How happy was the rest of the team for him?
Yeah, so good.
They're 2 from 8.
2 from 8. That's where it's like, shit, you know.
So we got to be careful, though. This sort of stuff starts to add up on you. That's what happened with the Warriors at the start of the season. Everyone's like, like they're playing good footy, but they're losing. So obviously got to start winning some of those times. They have got a pretty good run home, but missing Hines and Mulatalo, probably their 2 best players for the next little bit. You know, they need to be careful.
Yeah, and so it's like, that's what's weird about this side is when you actually watch them play, I don't watch them and go, oh, they're not having a go, or their defensive systems aren't that great. But at the same time, when you've only won that from your last 8, it's super concerning. But I think they definitely stay in the top 8. I don't have them in my top 4, but I think they stay in the top 8.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. And like one factor in it, you look at Nico out and the impact of that. But the bloke who's taken over has obviously been Braden Trindle and become the dominant half in the team. He was really good again. Couple of line break assists, tries. I think he scored one as well, scored a try. He's looked really good the last couple of weeks for them.
And that's the thing with the Sharkies is they leave themselves in this like weird predicament where Trindle's clearly seems like an organising 7. Like he wants to be the guy that's the main guy. And so when Hines does come back, that almost might play him out of a jersey, even though he's been better than Atkinson, because I do think him and Hines, they just don't seem to gel as well as I maybe hoped they would have. Granted, maybe they need some more time, but I think that Trindle has grown up being the main guy, and I think that he's used to it.
Yeah, and maybe it will take time, but the reality is when Hines returns, it's going to be finals time. They don't have that on their side. I think they've just got to lean into Nico.
They've just got to find a way to make it work. Him and Trindle.
Okay, so you would keep Trindle.
Yeah.
Oh, you go Trindle?
Yep.
Oh, no, I'd go Atkinson for sure.
I don't know. I think Braden Trindle's been excellent. I get your argument. Like, as a combination, Atkinson and Hines could work better. I don't know. I think Trindle would be hard pressed getting dropped.
Oh, for sure. And it's not about form, it's about fit for me.
Yeah, it's just purely fit. Yeah. See a little bit more from him. Look, who knows? Maybe we're reading into it too far, and Trindle and Hines can work, and they can see it at training. But it is a bit of a strange situation. Teague Wilton, I thought he got through a bunch of work, 102 metres, but he had 37 tackles and 0 misses on an edge. I thought that was really good.
He's improved out of sight for me this year.
Massive. I mean, there was almost a period there where people were, I wouldn't say definitely not in the 13, but he was down the pecking order in regards to who would be on the edge. But he's been bloody solid for him.
Mate, I was massively concerned about him coming into this season. I think defensively this year, he has been incredible. I've been so impressed with him. And, it was only a few weeks ago, like, he was captain of this side.
Yeah.
He's come a long way.
Yep. Has been rewarded with an contract extension. He's another guy that has just slotted into this back line and really never looked back. Like Talakai got moved to the bench and then to an edge, but now has obviously got his contract extension and going to be very hard for him to lose that spot if he keeps playing this consistently.
Without giving ourselves a pat on the back, for 2 years when he sat in reserve grade, I cannot believe there wasn't a club out there that threw a coin and opportunity at him.
Oh, mate, it's crazy. The amount of clubs that need a high-quality outside back that weren't knocking his door down. Maybe he was just super loyal to the Sharks. Fuck.
And credit to him if he was, but, jeez, he could have got a great player there.
For minimum. You could have just gone, mate, we'll give you a top 30 spot, minimum, and you'd have a great... And he's still only 24, 25?
Yeah.
So still got plenty of footy left in him. But yeah, massive congratulations to him, get the extension. Once again, the outside backs get through a bunch of work. Hopefully Mulatalo's not out because he's almost like the heartbeat of that side. And so what you'll lose in his physical stuff with the metres gained and the tackle breaks and the tries and try assists, that's one thing. It's the heart stuff that you can't replace, And you might be able to move Talakai back to a centre and then move, whoever out to the wing and you get the same amount of metres, but you're not going to get the same amount of, as I said, heart that Mulatalo offers this Sharky side.
Sharkies the next 5 weeks play 5 bottom 8 sides, and they got Manly in round 27.
I'm just not confident in the Sharkies to win the last 4 or 5 games.
It's set up to be top 4.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say it and have the soft draw. It's another to do it, isn't it?
Well, there was a period there when they beat the Storm, and I think they were on top of the table, where you're going, I think they were paying like something ridiculous to win the minor premiership.
Yeah.
Well, they beat the Storm and Roosters back-to-back weeks, didn't they?
Yeah. And then they just went on this loss against all these teams that they should most likely beat.
And the Storm week down in Melbourne, I think that was without Nico and Trindle. I think it was Atkinson steered the show.
Atkinson steered the ship. It's weird. And then they beat a Broncos side up at Suncorp as well.
They've got it in them.
You know, so like...
Yeah, they had those 3 games. They had a 2-point loss to the Dolphins, 1-point loss to Canterbury, then a 4-point loss to the Titans that could have and probably should have won 2 of those.
Yeah. So we'll see how they go. But
Liam Easton, the other bloke on debut?
Yep, debut, yep.
A fullback. A little bit unlucky to cop a bit of a spray there from Kyle Feld after his 3rd try in the hat-trick there. Bit uncalled for.
There's got to be some banter.
Has to be.
Like, Feld just to get up and do that to a rookie? Holy. Or maybe he took his anger out from Mulatalo on the rookie.
Yeah. Poor bloke.
Anyway, we'll see how they go. Okay, on to the Roosters. But don't forget, on KO, the NRLW is back. You can watch every game live and ad break free during play on KO. You can watch all 5 games on KO, with the first one kicking off at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So you can settle in and watch 2 NRLW games into 3 NRL games on KO on Saturday. What a day. The Roosters defeat Manly 34-30. The most I took out of this game wasn't the Roosters blowing them off the park early in the game. It wasn't even the fact that it was 34-30. What I took the most out of it is I've had a big question around this Manly forward pack, or even Manly team, when they get up against top-tier forward packs and it gets real gritty and tough. Do they have the ability to go with them? And they don't necessarily have the same ability to go with the Roosters when they're fully flying. But what I was so impressed, and what I haven't seen before in the last couple of years from a Manly side, is their ability to hang in there and stay gritty and stay tough and just find a way to stay in the contest against a Rooster side that is so used to bullying forward packs. I've got to say, I think Manly take more out of this than the Roosters do. I really do. This Manly side got blown off the park, and a Manly from a couple of years ago, or even just last year, if they get blown off the park like that, they're packing her up, and that's the end of the game. They were gritty. They were tough, and I think that's a huge, huge win for them heading into finals footy. I know they're on the cusp of the 8, and we don't know how the rest of the year pans out. But they answered a question that if I'm being honest, I assumed if that was going to happen to them before this game, that they go to water. They didn't. They showed heaps of grittiness, and I think that's a massive win for the club.
Really weird game of footy for me. I agree with you, mate. I thought their forward pack really stood up. You have a look at all the stats. Like, they had more run meters than Manly Seagulls. They won post-contact meters, albeit by just 1 metre, but it's against the Roosters side. Tackle breaks, they went about even with them. Average set distance, they won that as well. At the same time, I look at the scoreline and go, geez, it flatters the Manly Seagulls as well, getting 3 intercepts throughout that game. I'm sort of in 2 minds how I feel about this one.
Yeah, I think that I'm the score is, it's not irrelevant, but 34. Let's say they didn't get those 3 intercepts, and the Roosters won 34 to, I'll just say 20, just 20. That's probably the difference I have between those 2 sides. So what I'm more taken away from the Manly side is the fact that the Roosters came out absolutely guns blazing, and they just managed to hang in the game. I'm really, really impressed by it.
And we've spoken about it a lot this year when you lose an outside back early. They lost 2 in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah. I'm super impressed by Manly's ability to hang in there.
Yeah, I think I probably saw it the other way. I think the Roosters take a lot more out of this than Manly. I think both sides are going to take some positives and are going to take some negatives, but the Roosters, who started slow, was the opposite against Melbourne and were blown off the park early. They need to have a fast start in this one against a Manly team who had to be up for this game. And they scored 5 tries in 32 minutes and just showed, reasserted how good a side they are and how explosive they are. And I do think they were flattered by 3 intercept tries in the second half that brought that scoreline in a little bit. I think the Roosters took their foot off the gas.
It's funny how you view things. I view it inversely.
I see your point, and I agree, after having injuries in the back line, the fact that they did dig in and, the Roosters didn't score after their 32nd minute try until the 66th minute, but again, you take 3 intercept tries out and that scoreline could look pretty nasty. They did dig in, but I also look at, with near enough their full-strength side there, even before, who was it, Garrick and Saab went off injured, was it 28 and 30th minute or something, they'd still conceded 4 tries in 20 minutes and 5 in 32. That's danger signs, and like that sort of alarm bells for me for Manly. They absolutely dug in the second half, but...
See, I see the inverse. I already know the Roosters can do this. So who cares? Like look at that Roosters on paper compared to the Manly side on paper. I see it concerns me that the Roosters, after getting absolutely pumped last week by the Melbourne Storm, went out, scored 5 tries, got complacent, took their foot off the gas. Like, that's concerning to me. So it's actually, I'm the inverse of you. I see the Roosters and I go, of course you should have beat Manly. Look at your squad. Look how good you've been. Of course you can score a bunch of points quickly. Mike, how come you aren't doing it for 80 minutes, especially after the week before you got beaten by the Storm and you allowed Manly back in the match? I think that Manly get more out of this than the Roosters. I don't think the Roosters walk away from this going, we found something new out about ourselves. If anything, there is a bit of a pattern in games where we come out, we blow teams off the park, and we take our foot off the gas, we allow them back in, and then we just finish them off. Whereas I think with Manly, they can go, we got smashed in the first 20 minutes, we took the Roosters' absolute best, hung in there, and managed somehow, some way to be in the game. But it's just we're just looking at it from two different ways.
I just think, like, we're talking about Manly. We're not talking about, sorry, Hammy, the Tigers in this one where you go, yeah, we know the Roosters can do it. Manly, I said at the start of the show, their smoke is to still make the top 4, and I think they are going to be terrifying to come up against come finals time. This was big for the Roosters, a big game coming off a disappointing loss for them, and to score 5 tries in 32 minutes against, not full strength. I look, Kawatu was out, but everyone has players out this time of year, and near enough full strength side, I think the Roosters take a lot from it. The issue, though, is they took their foot off the throat, and they need to play 80 minutes of footy if they're going to come to finals time and knock a side like Penrith off and win a grand final and win a competition.
Yeah, so I look at it like Teddy versus Tommy, let's just cancel them out. Tupou versus Saab, Tupou. Suoli'i, Drojovic, Suoli'i. Jennings, Garrick, probably Garrick. Young, Talau, Young. Keary, Brooks, probably Keary. Walker, Cherry, DCE. Lenu, Paseka, Lenu. Brandon Smith, Simpkin, Smith. Collins, Alloy, Collins. Crichton, Waddell, Crichton. Victor Radley, Lawton. Anyway, Watson, Jake Trevor, like literally there's only like 2 players in that Manly side that are better than opposition. And so I'm not surprised that Roosters can score points on them. And I just think that my concern with the Roosters is when they get into those big games is that can they put together 80 minutes of the top tier footy that we do see. As I said, I just like the grittiness of the Manly Seagulls. I really, really did. Tommy Talau, hasn't his year just been outstanding? It really is. Another thing I liked about the back line for Manly Seagulls is their ability to create something from nothing. Like they were different players that got those intercepts. All 3 different players. So you had Tommy Talau had one. You had the Faulongo. What's his? Falaulo. Where is it? The debutant. Yeah, Falaulo. You had he got one, and then obviously DC got one. So all of them made something happen from nothing. And I think Tommy Turbo, what I liked about him is the game. I do feel like there has been games where he goes up against top tier sides, and if the first 20 minutes doesn't really kind of bend to his wheel, sometimes the game, he just doesn't play as well as we know he can play. What I liked about Turbo's performance is that he just kept being a nuisance for the Roosters, kept turning up, kept taking carries. And eventually, as I said, yes, it was 3 intercepts, but that's still 3 plays that they had to make. They still had to be in the position to do that. They still had to have kept the Roosters out after that first 20 minutes. And so I like the fact that they had multiple players in their backline have those big moments, whereas usually you have 1, maybe 2 players that do something big to get them back in the game. I thought it was great from the Manly side.
I agree with you on Turbo, mate. He just went in them all day. I just thought the Roosters defended him incredibly well. Just about anyone else outside of Penrith and maybe Canterbury now in this competition, I reckon Turbo could have had a field day there.
Yeah, maybe Storm, Penrith are usually the sides that can nullify a key player. But yeah, Tommy Turbo, they made a real pointed effort, Roosters, to try and shut him down. But as I loved that he just kept just being a nuisance to him, kept turning up, kept being around the ball. Timmy, who just stood out for you for Manly?
I thought Luke Brooks was really good, particularly with ball in hand, more than anything. He looked damaging and he threatened the line every time he took it on. Scored a great solo try.
2 games in a row, I think, that he's been the one to like almost change the tempo.
And he's just like coming with some big plays. And, you know, when Luke Brooks is playing his best footy, it's when he's running often and he looks confident and he's taking it on. And I thought he was tremendous.
Yeah. Hasn't he been an interesting kind of watch this year? Because started the year off, all guns blazing, went a little bit quiet, wasn't poor by any stretch, but this kind of recent resurgence from Manly, it's been a lot to do with Luke Brooks' form. It really has.
Yep, and it's when he runs the footy, and he got inside Lindsay Collins. I think he put the footwork on the weekend and got that happening. There was maybe just defensively for Brooksy, there was 1 or 2 little moments there where it looks like they really kind of isolated him. And I mean, it was Tedesco at full flight and stuff, pretty hard to stop anyway. But
sorry, mate, you go.
No, I was just going to say that's maybe just one little area that looks like teams are running a little bit of traffic out, and it's creating a bit of an issue for. But ball in hand, these last couple of weeks, he's probably got back to some of that form he had at the start of the season, which was so good.
Yeah. I thought poor old Benny Trebojevic, obviously can play centre, and he's done a good job at centre at different stages. They just gave him a bath early on down that edge, and it was Teddy going out then, whether it was him shooting out of line at the wrong time and cutting through or being a bit too passive. They destroyed that edge with a back row playing at centre. Benny's one of the better ones. He can do it. I was surprised they went with him. Like, they did have a few options, like Fualalo, who also could have started there. They had Jackson Bolo. It's credit to them that they did back him, but he got given a bit of a bath, particularly early on.
At least they made the adjustments, I guess. DCE, doesn't he just love almost being on the back foot, love the fact that he's under the pump? That last intercept that he made to make it a competition, how many times does DCE do that? You look at his metres. He had a try, 19 runs, 179 metres. He couldn't have tried any harder. And on top of all that, it showed you how much the field position was, they were under the pump. He had 620 kicking metres.
And then took over the goal kicking for Ruben Garrick and was not only a ball didn't go over the black dot, was smoking them.
He just loves being in a corner, doesn't he?
Yeah. Just loves competition. He just once he gets into that kind of zone where it's almost not off the cuff, but a little bit less structured and you just need to play footy, he just embraces it. I've got to say, Paseka for me. He's another guy where last week the Roosters pack really identified Kamikamitha as we want to bully him. Kamikamitha didn't take a backward step. Paseka for me, he's almost the shining example of, I really, you have questions about Paseka where you go, okay, when he has the physical ability to be a top tier front rower. So when he gets into these games, how is he going to respond to a forward pack that's going to try to bully him? It's really been a resounding this time. Other times I haven't really seen him respond the way he responded this time, where it just shows you how much he's matured, because they tried to bully him and he just said, no, I'm just going to I might get dominated that first 2 or 3 runs. I'm just going to keep turning up, keep getting banged. And eventually he found his front, he found his metres. He had 16 runs, 137 metres, 62 post-contact. He had 6 tackle breaks against a Roosters forward pack.
Yeah, and if Timmy's to be right and they are to make a play for this top 4, he is going to be crucial to it.
They can't do it without him, really.
Coming up against the best forward packs in the competition, as we saw on the weekend, he's the one, isn't he? That has to step up and bear that X factor and go, no. Not only can we match with you, but we can beat you and we can win the battle through the middle. He's so important, isn't he?
Yeah, well, you've got Payne Haas to the Broncos, you've got Fisher Harris to the Penrith Panthers. That's who Paseka is to the Manly Seagulls.
He's their main guy. When you're getting beaten through the middle, you've got no momentum, and you turn to someone and you go, who can lift us off the canvas with just one big play here, one big play there? It's Taniela Paseka.
Yeah. I thought Sipley was pretty good too. Yep. I thought he did a job as well. I was just really impressed with this forwards pack. They didn't get bullied out of the match. They refused to take a backward step.
Good from Sipley, but that try score, that defence was so uncharacteristic of the Roosters. It came out of nowhere.
That's why was
it dummy half? Or was it was it off the dummy half? I can't remember.
No, dummy half.
Dummy half.
The Roosters, when they're on, they're almost unstoppable. But it's just these periods in the game where I'm just going, you never see Penrith really do that. So that's if they can fix that, and that's where I guess it depends if you're glass half full or glass half empty. If you look at the Roosters and you say glass half full, you go, this is where they're at now. Imagine as they keep ramping up towards final footy, imagine what they're going to be doing by the time they hit finals footy. All right, let's get to the Roosters then. Look, Teddy, outstanding again. Geez, hasn't like him having to not play Origin, that has played into the Roosters' hands perfectly. Like we're talking about a side right now that's currently sitting third. They've played 19 games. They should be on 30 points, which is 2 points ahead of the Sharks. And it's only one win behind the Panthers. Like here is a side that if you go back and look at the ladder last year, 2 weeks ago, so 2 weeks ago from now, but last year, they were like 14th. They are now top three, pretty much cemented in the top three, heading into finals footy, getting ready for that ramp up. And this side, with 2 bites of the cherry in finals footy, is going to be a nightmare. So let's say they lose their first match. Imagine rocking up to play this side for the elimination finals the next week. Genuine nightmare stuff. Like, because when they are on and when they click, when they click, I don't know if any team can go with them.
I will feel so robbed as a footy fan if we don't see their best in finals footy. Because it's been 5 years of this incredible roster and we just haven't seen it. I really hope we get them in Penrith or them in Melbourne in a big game at their best. It's going to be sensational footy.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Well, I think there's every chance week 1 of finals we see Panthers Roosters 2v3.
oh my God. The fireworks in that game. Because you know Fish and Leota not taking a backward step.
Spencer Leniu.
Hargraves, Spencer,
Yeah.
then you got Hargraves, you got Angus Crichton, you got Liam
Terrell
Munn,
May, mate.
Yeah.
There'll be something
Terrell
in that.
May. Holy shit. It'll be like Origin quality.
Yeah.
It'll be Origin quality.
Like you look
Like
at
you'll have Liam Martin and Angus marking each other.
Oh,
the Storm are 4 points clear of the Panthers. The Roosters are third, and they with losses they could drop out, but they have a soft run home. They have a bye to come. I reckon we're getting it.
Oh my God. Teddy at the back there, outstanding. He had a try. He had 2 try assists. And I do think he's worked on his ball playing a little bit. Or at the very least, like, I don't know, systems have changed, or not systems, but I don't know, the training's changed or whatever, because his ball playing has gotten progressively better this year, and he's not even his ball playing, his pass selection. His decision making on whether to pass or run has just gotten better and better. And it's weird because I say better, but it's just what it was a couple of years ago. Mate, he has just been like electric, and it's been in areas of his game where we always know he has the tackle breaks, we always know he has the meters, but it's been the little tiny things he's just been so good after the Roosters recently.
First 20 minutes in this game, that was up there with the most dominant 20-minute periods by a player of this year. They just couldn't touch him. Couldn't get near him,
He
Teddy.
was so good.
I think the other thing about Teddy is, as you said, it's not that his passing has gotten better, it's pass selection. And I hate when fullbacks start thinking pass first, run second. Like 99 out of 100 fullbacks, their skill is that they're strong ball runners. And I think Teddy just went too far the opposite way last year, and he was just going, mate, you're a ball runner. He'd probably been told it by Robert, like, mate, run the ball, you're destructive. And he just wasn't passing. He's sort of taken a step back this year, and when he's doing those, he's got the 3-on-2s going out the back. He just always going himself, and it'd stifle plays. He's just passing it more, and it's effective.
I tell you what, Suoliti and Dom Young, it's almost becoming an event watching them streak away on a field. Like, every time I watch it and I see how big and athletic they are, like, I don't know, it just feels special. It's like when you see Dom Young's hair flowing in the wind and he hits top speed, he's like 6'7" or whatever, you're just going like, this guy's unstoppable. Like, he is an absolute freak. And granted, I know he's still got plenty to work on in his game, but those two boys, like, they have no right to be as athletic and as fast and as strong and as just everything. It's truly an event to watch them play.
You look at this weekend, Daniel Tupou, Suoliti, Young, like they all went for 140 plus metres. They combined for 15 tackle breaks. And you're still got to put Joey Manu back in this side, who might be the best ball runner out of all of them.
There was a moment on the weekend, I'm pretty sure it was off a kick return, and I just don't think Manly had the best defensive line chasing, the kick chase. Benny Trebojevic was one of them, and he was right up there trying to in their face, and the Roosters shifted, and Dom Young got a one-on-one with Ben Trebojevic with about 20 metres of space around. He went, "Oh, you poor bugger."
Yeah. It's honestly like a back line with Manu, Suaalii, and he got to give credit to Suaalii. Like, a lot of us were sitting here going, look, not a centre, probably a winger. He's definitely worked on his game and improved, so much so that we go, you know what? Yeah, he can play centre. But a back line with Tupou, Suaalii, Young, and then Manu comes back into it. Like, how do you stop that? How do you stop that coming out of our own end? And what's crazy is, like, we're talking about Suaalii and Young. You could argue Tupou had the best game. He had 2 try assists. And he's just got extended for 2 more years. I don't care what anyone says. Tupou is the most underrated winger in the history of the game. I don't care. Because he's won, 3 premierships? Tell me, outside of the first few years of his career where had a few errors in his game, tell me the last time you saw him have a bad stretch of games.
Not to mention as well, like in those grand finals, he's had huge moments. Like he came with the line break to win the one against the Canberra Raiders. I remember in that 2013 grand final, I think he scored the first try jumping over the top of Wolfman. Like he's had some massive moments. Daniel Zubo, I said a few weeks ago, watching him up close in Canberra, like I was sitting there going, if they pick him for New South Wales, I'll be confident he'll do a job.
He's so consistent. Like in a back line with genetic freaks in Suaalii, in Dom Young, in even Joey Manu, he's equal with Manu in getting selected each week. Like I reckon in the pecking order, you pick Tupou before you pick Suaalii or you pick Young. That's a testament to how good this guy is for how long it's been. Like it's been, 11 years now I think he's been in first grade, maybe a bit longer, 12 years. And can you get his meters over the last 4 or 5 years? Because I think he's just gone up and up and up. Massive congratulations to Tupou. One of the game's good guys as well. Because he's incredible.
258 games, that should see him get to 300 games for the Roosters as a winger. That's crazy.
As a winger, almost a young man's game to a degree. I know some players have bucked the trend, but Tupou.
156 tries.
So this year's a 168, last year 182, year before 156, year before that 180, 181, 171.
Keep going.
163, 135. We're in 2017 here. 135 again, 115. So yeah, it's gone up.
So he's just like gone from strength to strength to strength. 168 average this year. I think it might be his second or third best averaged year ever in his career.
Well, you essentially look at the first 5 seasons of his career. He didn't average over 135. He hasn't gone below 160 since.
Last one on the Roosters. Probably had one of his quieter attacking games of the season, at least statistically, Angus Crichton. 77th minute, game seemingly over and done. Cherry Evans takes that intercept. Crichton tore away to chase him down. Didn't get there, but to keep him from going under the post because it was a 6-point margin at the time. This is a bloke who just backed up 80 minutes after Origin in a losing team against the Storm and has played essentially 80 minutes every game all year and backed up from all the Origin games. Was chasing after him. Cherry Evans forced to put down a bit wider. He ended up kicking the goal, so the margin was 4. But that is such a big play.
Yeah, even Lindsay Collins shooting out of the line with 5 to go and the game's over. That's another thing. Lindsay Collins, how many grubbers and kicks does that bloke save?
Yeah.
He's like another fullback.
Mate, he is though. There was the one that I put out a social media post, but he there was one that he was there on the trial and I had no idea why he was there. The commentators didn't even mention it. And then 3 minutes later, I thought, this would be a good talking point. Then he did it again and then they spoke about it and I was like, okay, well, that's kind of fucking ruined now. But and then the last play of the game, kick goes in,
I love watching Lindsay
desperation,
Collins
and who's there
play.
to pick it up?
It's incredible. So, look, it's not a big concern, but just like we spoke about Melbourne Storm with that sliding defence, that's their one thing I think they need to fix. I think Roosters is just fading in and out of games. Them at their best is premiership heavyweights. They just got to make sure by the time they get to finals footy. And look, to be fair, Trent Robinson is so clued on. He's so clued on. Maybe he wouldn't be intentionally fading in and out of games, but I wouldn't put it past him where he's making substitutions to build towards something later in the year. We go back and we look at the minutes that Terrell May was getting at the start of the year, but around Origin period, he started playing him 75 to even 80 minutes. And that was clearly a plan of like, I'm going to play him little minutes at the start to get him big minutes in the middle of the year. And so I wouldn't put it past Trent Robinson that he's actually building towards something come finals footy.
How perfect is it that they have a bye in round 23? Have a spell, regroup, 7 weeks to go.
Those end-of-season buys, the clubs that can jag it, gee, it's a benefit, isn't it?
Massive benefit. So, look, good win for the Roosters. Alrighty, on to Panthers defeating the Dragons 46-10. I mean, oh man, I know Panthers fans are going to hate to hear this, but like, what is there to talk about? Your side's incredible. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest side we've ever seen. Nathan Cleary is amazing. They are absolutely on a tear. They are on a trajectory to a 4th premiership. They are easily my favourites right now to win the competition again. We are witnessing history. And what's scary is that, you know, we've spoken about it, well, I've spoken about it quite a lot. Imagine a Melbourne Storm system, the same standard as that, but in the heartland of rugby league. And that's what you're getting with Penrith Panthers. You're getting a Penrith Panthers system that they've built that is unique to them in the heartland of rugby league. And this is the result you're seeing. We are witnessing pure, like, truly the greatest, most consistent, greatest rugby league we've ever seen. What an absolute clinic that they put on the weekend. We've already spoken about him. Nathan Cleary is outstanding. But what I'm really getting excited for, and, you know, we'll just like lay it all out there so you don't get upset. But Luai played great. Cleary played great. But let's talk about the players that excite me the most when it comes to the Panthers. It's your guys like Lindsay Smith. It's your guys like Liam Henry. It's your Maverick guys. It's the next generation of players that are starting to show signs of the same development that we saw of Fisher Harris, that we saw of Leota. That's what excites me the most about the Penrith Panthers at the moment.
They're just tough, aren't they? And you just like to lose James Fisher Harris a few minutes in, and honestly, I wasn't too panicked.
No.
I was like, sucks, but I know they'll be fine.
Fisher Harris is now there to win you a premiership because you've got enough depth to take care of the normal footy. Fisher Harris and Leota are there to win comps, and that's what they do. If anything, and we spoke about this off air, it makes the Panthers even scarier because you know what's the scariest shit in the history of mankind? An angry, rested Fisher Harris. And that's what he's going to be. He's probably going to have, 1 to 3 weeks off, and he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like the entire year this guy, regardless for the last 3 years, just marks September down on the calendar. That's when I'm going to play my absolute best footy. And as you said, now he gets to come in completely fresh, and those other guys get a little bit more experience. Like Maverick Guy played enormous minutes yesterday. He doesn't normally get that sort of experience. I mean, no breaking news, but I don't know who's going to beat them. I really don't.
They got everything in their favour. The thing is we're not talking about a side that's won 3 premierships and everyone's friggin' 35 years old and they're about to retire. They're still one of the younger teams in the competition. Timmy?
Yeah, look, mate, you just said, we won't talk about Cleary, we won't talk about Lou Alex, we speak about it all the time. They're exactly who I want to speak about. And the reason being for that is that, for their first couple of premierships and even the grand final before that, they were a relatively structured halves combination in that Cleary was right, Luai was left. They didn't really deter from that too much. Cleary had sometimes played a little bit on the left, but they stuck to their left and right edges. Just before finals last season, we saw it tweak from Ivan Cleary, and it was to send Nathan Cleary playing a bit more on Luai's left edge and sweeping off the back of Luai. And it had tremendous effect. I mean, literally doing that, he scored the match winner in the grand final, playing down Luai's left edge. He's done it again this year, I think. It might be a small sample size, but from the time that we've seen Luai dominate as a 7 playing both sides of the field when Cleary's been injured, watching on the weekend, mate, Luai and Cleary, they were both all over the park.
Well, that's what's so exciting about this and doesn't get enough raps. Like Penrith, they're really structured. And it's like, are you watching Penrith from 2 or 3 years ago? Because the Penrith I'm watching today has evolved since the Penrith that I saw 2 or 3 years ago. And it would be very easy for Ivan Cleary and the coaching staff. We have to remember, it's not even getting spoken about. He lost his 2 assistant coaches. And then the year before that, he lost another assistant coach, Ivan Cleary. And what's so impressive is the side that played in the 2020 grand final was different to the side that played the 2021. And when I say different, I mean different styles of playing the game. And the side that's different, like the 2021 side, plays way different to the 2024 side. And Ivan Cleary, it would have been very easy for him to go, all right, 2024 we won the premiership. Let's just play like that, and we're going to stick to it, and we're the best at it. He's evolved it like multiple times.
And once you take Jerome out, the 25 side will be different again.
It's just the style, and I don't think enough. Like a lot of people, when you go, oh, Ivan Cleary's incredible coach. I go, yeah, for sure. But I don't think enough is being spoken about that. He's essentially lost his coaching staff. Like the Panthers are so good, their coaching ranks get poached. Like he's not only having to deal with his club getting, his team getting poached, with Dally M players getting poached. We're talking about Kickow, we're talking about Burton, we're talking about Critter, we're talking about Law. Like we're talking about guys that are at the top tier getting poached. His coaching staff, it's honestly absolutely amazing. I tell you what, there was one moment, and I was obviously being a bit facetious about not talking about Cleary and Luai. We can talk about them, but it's more like we say it every single week. We'll try to talk about other players. But there was one moment where I'm just like, bro, this is why these guys are great. And there was a kick that like went into the corner for the Panthers, and for some reason it was a really quick play of the ball, and the winger didn't get there or the centre didn't get there in the dummy half. Jerome Luai, who has just come off an incredible, arguably man of the match, Game 3, series-winning moment, the first bloke to get there in a dummy half was Jerome Luai. Like, efforts like that, when he could easily say, that is not my job. One of you rookies that don't have anywhere near the resume that I have, you get there. But nah, Jerome, not only do you do that, so he gets there in dummy half, then he's involved in 2 or 3 of the plays throughout the whole set. Effort on effort on effort. It's just absolutely incredible.
Mate, there was moments in that first 20 minutes when they just came out, all guns blazing. And I had to double take and be like, I'm sorry, like, is Luai and Clear, have they switched edges or something? Because they were both spending so much time down the other player's side of the field. And, you know, it's probably something that ties into, Guru mentioned earlier in the show, I think it was the last 3 grand finalists haven't made the top 8 the following year or something like that, or could be on track for if Brisbane don't this year. And it's because you have to adapt and change things up, because oppositions, they study your tapes, and they go, they do this, they do that, and they have to change it up. You're starting what Penrith did in 2022 and 2023, and you're going, all right, we'll start to work them out. Now, all of a sudden, they go 2 of the best halves in the game, and now swapping both edges and playing all over the shop. Like, how do you defend it? Like, going into a game, going, all right, Luai started to play down the right edge. He never does that.
Yep. And also, like, I feel like he's stepping less and less back inside now. I feel like they're changing even that up, like in the middle of the season.
For sure. He's getting early ball out to his left edge more often. And then on top of that, with Cleary back now going to the left edge, running that sweep, that's opening up that entire left edge even more. So it's frightening.
Speaking of the left edge, Casey McLean, I think he's going to lock down that spot for the rest of the season. I reckon he's going to hold on to it.
Well, I don't think there's anyone that's going to take it. The only one that would be if Paul Alamotti came back, but I'm picking McLean over Alamotti.
Yeah, I think I'm going McLean over him. Obviously, he had that first touch, which was incredible off the left foot. He had 11 runs for 133 metres, which is impressive. But once he got moved to left wing, he didn't actually get any football at all. I reckon when he's playing left centre, I reckon he'll go 150, 160 metres week in, week out.
It'll be interesting to see how Cleary plays this. Because it's not like he started the year as the centre, and I wonder whether Cleary looks at it and goes, let's say Alamotti, comes back in and he is available, or he's, let's say he's available now, or he becomes available in a few weeks. I just wonder whether, does Ivan Cleary go, do I have long enough to get this young fella ready for finals footy? Because they're actually quite different players, Alamotti and McLean. You're getting 2 very different things. You're getting, obviously, Alamotti, big body, great in contact. McLean's also great in contact, especially for his size. He's got plenty more to fill out.
I think that, and I haven't seen enough of McLean. Guru, you've seen far more than I have. But if he's defensively up to it, and on the early signs say that he is, I don't think, and I've said it before, I don't think Alamotti is that good defensively. He's getting dramatically better, but he's in a fantastic system, and he'll be fine if he comes back and picks him. But if Casey McLean is good defensively, I think they'll stick with him. What do you reckon?
Which, mate, I've seen a lot of him coming through. He's impressed me how physical he is, and I think defensively he's been fantastic. And I know it's a small sample size, but I think he is a better defender
than Alamotti. When is Alamotti back? Good to go.
He's about 4 or 5 weeks, so it'll be about around 26-ish.
Yeah, so he'll have a good. That's going to be a really interesting decision that he makes, because, as I said, it's not necessarily like Alamotti is this like 25-year-old veteran that he can go, all right, we're heading into finals footy. We'll get the veteran back in. But, rookie, you've done a really good job, but we don't want to throw you in the deep end too early.
But I think it'll also depend on if he wants to fit Dane Laurie into this side. It'll depend on Taruva's form. I don't think it's a straight head-to-head clash between those two. There's a few ways this could go.
Mate, Dane Laurie, again, no disrespect to the Tigers, but
Come on, guys.
He couldn't make their side. If you didn't again,
We're
we
stacked.
go back to the Bateman. We go back to the Bateman Papali'i situation. Like, if you want to blame the players, you've got a guy like Dane Laurie, who they literally refused to play and brushed him as quickly as they could. And he goes back to Penrith. He was the time that he's played, he's been arguably the best player on the field.
He played games at 5'8" for the Tigers in the back end of last year when the Tigers had thrown in the towel, and he was a class above everyone on the field at the time. He killed it.
You just look at that and you go, okay, if this Penrith Panthers system had touted Dane Laurie as their next gun, because that's what they had done, and then surely you self-reflect at the Tigers and you go, maybe we need to take their word for it to a degree and just go, let's back this young fella in. Because he got Player of the Year at fullback, correct? Was a bit quiet for half a year, and then got dropped and never to see, pretty much brushed from then.
Yeah, apart from when he came and had that little run at 6 and looked great, and then he signed with Penrith again, and that was devastating. But mismanaged, and it just goes to show the difference in the systems. Because look at Penrith this year; they've had injuries in all their key positions, and guys have just popped in, nailed it. They're still sitting second. It hasn't really affected their overall performance at all. But now, with these guys coming back in at this time of the year, most of the rest, in fact, all the rest of their games, apart from one, are against bottom 8 teams. Round 24, they got the Storm. That'll be a really good kind of hit out before the finals. But a fresh fish, all these guys coming back in at the right time. It's just very hard to see them getting stopped, isn't it?
He had 4 tackle breaks, 1 try assist, 2 line breaks. If you finish a game like that, you go, that's an 8 out of 10. You did it in 20 minutes.
It's freaking unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What do they do there now, though? How long's Dill Edwards got? Because now they might have a bit of a...
Got another 2 or 3 weeks.
So what are they going to do there at fullback?
I'd say Taruva will jump in there.
Yeah.
And then McLean, the other McLean brother, will come in.
I'm not sure if he's available at the moment. But they've got Peach they could throw at centre if they want to. They've got a few options.
Let's talk about Lindsay Smith. Well, Lindsay Smith and Liam Henry, but Lindsay Smith for me, truly being their unsung hero. For sure, Leota and Fisher Harris, they are premiership, the best of the best, get the job done. But Lindsay Smith, he's another guy. He could walk the streets, and most fans probably wouldn't recognise him. But he won the comp last year with them, and basically has cemented himself as the rotation for Leota and Fisher Harris. On the weekend, he had a try. This is in 60 minutes. A try, 18 runs, 156 metres, 61 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, a line break, 34 tackles and 2 misses. And also, wasn't it against the Broncos where he had that incredible kick?
Yep.
Try assist?
Yep.
Another guy that's just getting better and better with each game. And Liam Henry, for me, he's a bloke that when I first saw him play, I go, I think he's just more of a battler. I don't know whether he has the ability to take the next step. Now, I don't know necessarily whether he'll take an origin step or not. But the more I see of him, I go, maybe he does have that next step in him. I think there is more to Liam Henry than just battler forward, and I'm starting to see it.
Yeah, there's heaps more to him than that. He's going to be a very good player. And, mate, at the end of the day, they've got 10 weeks left in this season, the Penrith Panthers, and someone's got to step into that starting front row role for next year. Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry, these guys all putting their hand up for it. What an opportunity to partner Mosley Otter in this side.
Well, I think I reckon Isaiah Papali'i comes over and plays front row.
Yeah, I reckon they'll play him in the middle too.
And just keep Scotty Sorensen on the edge, because the other option is if Scotty too hot, he went back to the middle and they kept and they put Papali'i on the edge. But I don't know, Scotty's awesome on the edge. I reckon they'll stick with it.
He was good on the weekend again.
Yeah.
I think when I look at body types of who they play on edges, I just don't know if Papali'i suits who they have, because he's a nuggety player. He actually probably built closer to Leota than he is to what they currently have. Liam Henry, Liam Martin and Scotty Sorensen. those two guys I want to talk about as well. Geez, they were good. Far out. Like, two blokes like Liam Martin, his confidence now heading into the rest of the season. He's another guy that just, whenever the big games come, he arrives. But Scotty Sorensen, because he's actually been injured for a lot of the year, Scotty Sorensen, he was outstanding on the weekend. One of the best players on the field, in my opinion.
He's so dangerous, isn't he? Scotty Sorensen, like, so hard to handle. It's been an interesting career. It's taken a while for him to kick on, but he just couldn't have landed in a better spot. Penrith left edge, and I still think he's probably the most underappreciated player in this side, Sorensen.
He starts for him every week and plays 80 minutes in a premiership side last year. He's so underappreciated.
Yeah. There was a lot of times on the weekend where they just kept turning him under, and sometimes the way they play as a fan watching it frustrates me, but every time he gets the ball, you go, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
15 metres, straight through the middle, quick play the ball every single time.
Yep.
He is, we keep talking about this mobile forward pack in the current day, it is Scott Sorensen.
Yeah, perfect.
An agile back rower.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great stuff from the Panthers, great stuff. And as I said, the most exciting thing from that game is we know Luai's great, we know Cleary's great. And they're not even fringe guys. They're starting 17, but it's these guys that are a bit lesser known that you just each week you're seeing that Penrith system just slowly make them better, bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, everything. Onto the Dragons. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like, unfortunately, the Panthers are just this much better of a side than the Dragons. Like, what I like about the Dragons is they've got an edge to them, and what I mean by edge is like similar-ish to the Bulldogs. Obviously, the Bulldogs are doing much better, but I like that the Dragons have a bit of spite in them where this year under Flanagan, if they're losing by a huge margin, they'll start just getting niggly. Like, and I know that's not fan-friendly and, PC and all that kind of stuff, but this is rugby league, and if my team's going down, go down with a fight. And I like that from the Dragons, that they have this kind of bitter edge to them that, okay, we're getting completely outplayed here. We're just gonna get a win where we can get it. And it is very Flanagan-esque. You go back to that Shark side, they were dogs. And so the Panthers are just substantially better side. The Dragons, obviously there's plenty they can do better. Their completion rate was terrible. I get all that, but I do like the edge they have when it comes to that bitterness.
And it's Shane Flanagan down to a T, and like you talk about that 2016 Sharks, I like that. 2016 Melbourne, that 2016, 2017, I reckon they're one of the greatest teams of all time. And Cronulla,
the Melbourne
side, yeah, like that, they were an incredible football side, and Cronulla, they had to have a bit of shit in them to win that grand final.
Yeah,
I remember that was the whole talk leading into it. They essentially just came out and said, we've shown them too much respect for too long. We need to go at them. That was the year that I think it was Mick Ennis rubbed the head of Cam Smith, and remember the media lost their minds over that, and Cronulla just went, if they're putting on a jersey out there, it's fair play.
Yeah. And you're kind of seeing that with the Dragons. So, like, obviously you never want to lose 46-10 as a club. And, yep, this is the inconsistent Dragons that we've kind of gotten to know. And, yes, it's a massive fall-off from how good they did earlier in the year against the Penrith Panthers. But at the same time, I just think they ran up against the Penrith side that is fucking red-hot right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, the Dragons have slapped around by a significantly better football team, and to add to that, they got them at the worst time possible. Like, I go back to almost like round 8 when Nathan Cleary had one game back from injury, or even almost as far back as round 3, where you go, Penrith had their full team on deck because they had players rested and sitting out through Origin period. Cleary, basically, first time he played 2 or more games was back to round 3. So they get the entire Panthers side back, a fired-up Nathan Cleary having missed the Origin series. Penrith would have put a score on every team in the competition this week, I reckon.
And I also think, looking at Benny Hunt play, I just wonder whether the Origin footy and his age might be catching up to him a little bit. Because, like, he was so off. Like, I can't remember the last time Benny Hunt was this
Couple
off.
out on the full, two kicks
yeah,
on the
like
full,
I think he had like 6 errors or something. Yeah. Like it was like a poor game, and I just wonder. He was asked a couple of questions in Origin camp about rep retirement, and he said, mate, he just loves footy, and he'll get whenever he gets the call, he'll always answer it. But I just wonder if he's getting to that age with his body, with having to lead a club around, and people go, well, look at DCE, but. Who knows? Maybe DCE will get to that as well. Everyone's different. Everyone's body shape is different. And and they handle things physically quite differently. I just wonder whether Benny's getting to that age where he might need to go, if I'm going to be the main guy at a club, I probably can't. And look, I'm just posing the question. I'm not really sure what the answer is to it yet. It's only one game, but it did look like a tired footballer to me.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe slow to bring in Reid Marnie for a few games there. Might be a sign of starting to make a move there. I wouldn't surprise me at all if Ben Hunt calls it a day. I wish he would have known going into it if it was the situation.
Thoughts on Benny Hunt's performance, boys?
Ordinary.
Mixed bag, yeah. Obviously set up tries, but yeah, a couple. I think it ended up being 3 kicks out on the full. I think. What about when the camera flashed? The front row was sitting on the bench after that third kick went out on the full. Just like fuck. Benny doesn't need that.
Does not need that.
And you look at it and you go, like, Benny had an off day, absolutely, but the Panthers ran for like 800 metres more than them. We say it week in, week out, like, if your pack aren't rolling forward, there's not much you can do as a half. And you go, they weren't just rolling forward, they were getting dominated. You're not going to do much.
I wonder what happens there at the Dragons with Benny. I think he's got one more year, so he'd be available from November 1st to negotiate. Could you check for that, please, Matty? I wonder what the plan is there for Benny. Because, it's crazy that 6 months ago he was definitely gone. Then there's been whispers that, they may extend him.
November 1 this year.
November 1. But, anyone else? I thought, Sewer fought till the end. Got a good try at the end. But, it's really hard to get a gauge on the Dragons side when they just come up against an absolutely red-hot Panthers side.
What do you think of Lomax at fullback? Would that be play for the rest of the season, or if he's not going to? I just thought defensively, Lomax, and I know that they still got a lot of points put on him. I just thought he came out with a few plays that I don't think Sloan would have.
Oh, defensively, he made some great defensive plays, Lomax. It's hard to say because it's against the Penrith Panthers. I think if it was against another team that was like middle of the table, I think you get a better read of it. Yeah, it's hard though. Sometimes you get to the point where if you got a good thing, don't mess with it. And that's coming from a guy that was like campaigning for Lomax at fullback. So it's hard because even though Sloan hasn't set the world alight this year, they've also been much better side, the Dragons, with him at fullback and Lomax in the wing. Even though Lomax might be able to outperform individually Sloan at fullback, does that necessarily translate, if you're going to weaken a centre position or a wing position, does that necessarily translate to a better footy side as a total? It's hard to say after a Penrith game.
I think from Flano's perspective, he's made the decision to drop Sloan and play Lomax at fullback. You can't change, whatever the reasoning for it was, and defensively probably was a big part of it, I don't think you can change it off the back of one loss to Penrith. You have to give Lomax a crack against a soft, weaker side than the Penrith.
Yeah, but he didn't pick Lomax at fullback. He picked Fangai.
But then Lomax played fullback, didn't he?
Played fullback, after that, But it'll be interesting to see what he does next week if they're all available.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the hit? I thought, unfortunately, the thing is, if Laurie still had the ball in his hand and that happened, I'd be much more forgiving. I think with those ones, if you want to dip your head and just kind of almost not look where you're going, unfortunately, it should have been 10 in the bin, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
If that happens and he has the ball still, I'm much more forgiving. But it's the ones where they pass the ball. I don't necessarily mean you need to fully pull out of it, because I do think that, for example, the try that the Rabbitohs got disallowed. The Dolphins got disallowed because Herbie Farnworth kept running was bizarre. And then also the penalty that Hughes got against him. Remember that one? It was a little minor head clash.
Oh my goodness.
Look, rushing out of the line but tackling like this, and compared to rushing out of the line trying to kill someone, anyway. Won't get into it.
We almost went through a whole episode without a ref mention.
Yeah, I know. I tried to. But yeah, I did think that it probably should have been 10 in the bin, and I won. I thought Sully was great. I thought he tried his heart out. He's carried his own 14 runs, 130 metres, 48 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 10 tackles. But yeah, it's very hard to measure this side. I thought Little came up with some really big plays.
59 tackles, Little.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's been really good. He's a guy that I think when they signed Cook, they're probably sitting there going, Cookie's going to be our main man. But I think ever since, or even just before that, it's probably gotten to the point where they're going, okay, well, Little and Cookie, instead of it just being Cookie's the number 9 and we'll try to fit Little in anywhere, I think it might be How do we make them fit together?
Is that it for the Dragons, though? I think what are they sitting now? 10th. Pretty tough. 10th. Tough for them to probably make
10th,
it.
they're 18 games, 24 points. They're on the same amount of points as the Dolphins, though.
Got the Storm and the Dogs next. That's 2 tough games.
2 tough games, but you know what? They've built such a reputation this year. I'm not going to count them out.
Like, they could quite easily come out next week and be team of the week for me. They're just...
Yep.
I don't know what I'm going to get week to week. Yeah.
Which is a compliment to how far they've come.
Yep.
Like, they've earned the right, like, for us as, like, analysts to go, you know what? Like, they can do something special.
Even for us to be asking in round 21, is their season over? Like, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I thought the season was going to be over in round 10, start of the year.
Mate, so, yeah, tough loss, but against a red-hot side. Okay, on to the next game. The Dolphins versus the Titans. I tell you what, the first 20 minutes, you watch the Dolphins and you're going, not only is this team friggin' a top 8 side, is this team a top 4 side? They came out and they just completely outplayed the Titans. Like, it was genuinely night and day in regards to standard of rugby league. And I still feel, even though the Titans won, the standard of footy that the Dolphins played in that first 20 was the best standard of footy played all game. And then the rest of the game, I don't know what happened, but you've got to give it to the Titans. They showed grit. They showed determination. They hung in there. They had these little wins here or there. And before you know it, you looked up and you go, 14-0 down, okay, it's 14-10, but then the Dolphins kind of wrangled back momentum. You go, okay, the Titans had their little fight back, but the Dolphins are going to kick on. No, the Titans just kept turning up. Fodawaker, he played incredibly well. Campbell, just his ability to make points happen is amazing. And the Titans knock off the Dolphins, and it's like such a crucial loss. If the Dolphins had won that, I mean, the Dolphins win that, they're sitting on 26 points, which is the same, essentially, as top 5, and like you're in the same as 5th. Now all of a sudden, pressure's on them to stay in the 8. And the Titans, they're sitting down at the 14th, essentially can't make the finals, just making nightmares for teams because you just don't know what the Titans are going to do. Really, really good win for the Titans. And I'm still a bit unsure, because the problem with the Titans is that we have seen these little glimpses before, but so far so good. And in the last, ever since that bad run at the start of the season, they've been substantially better than what we've seen in the past. It was just that incredibly slow start that has just killed them because, what was it, the first 6 games they lost or something? And they're
very slow.
So could you get up the first how many games, please, Matty? Because if they had just won...
Round 8 was their first win.
So 7 losses. Think about this. They're 2 wins outside the 8. 2 wins outside the 8. And so when you look at that and you go, okay, let's just discount that first half and let's give them 3 wins in that first 7 games. All of a sudden, they're sitting in the top 8. And I look at it and I go, okay, last week I was asking the question, are we being a bit hoodwinked by the Desi Hasler magic? I think not. I think that he's made changes. I do think that they've not necessarily turned a corner, but I do think their trajectory is on the up.
It's exciting for the Titans, as you said, mate. If you take out those first 7 weeks, next year you put Tino back in there, you put Jolliffe back in there. You got a footy side all of a sudden. Hasler with another pre-season with this squad starting to build the side that he wants. If Brimo can stay fit, a lot of ifs, but they're starting to show what we hope this season would look like.
Well, and people might go, oh, come on, or just take out the first 7 games. If it wasn't his first year, obviously we wouldn't do that. But the reason why we go, okay, if you don't look at the first 7 games, is because he's a new coach. So clearly it's going to take him longer than we expected. But it would be reasonable to suggest that the start of the season, it's going to take longer than 6 weeks for them to start beginning to buy into the system that Desi Hasler is putting in place.
Yeah, another very hard one to line up with the Titans. And the biggest thing about this game was that, when we look at them in terms of their future prospects and how they're building towards 2025 season in the future, they've always had attack in them. They've always had games where they've defended all right. But they're stringing good footy together. I know they weren't great against Manly last week, but Dolphins came out, and this is a very good attacking outfit. 2 tries in the first 12 minutes. The Tavita Pangai Jr. one also was off a kick deflection. And then they didn't concede for 68 minutes and got themselves back into the game and end up winning relatively convincingly. As you said, Kempy, the concern is each and every year, over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've seen periods of seasons where we've been impressed by the Titans. They don't have to make the 8 this year and win every game and go on a mad run, but let's just see this consistency going through to the end of the year, because if they can do that and just fight in games for the next 4 or 5 weeks, it's just going to set a platform for next year so nicely for them. But yeah, I agree. I think the sign's really good going into next year.
Well, it gives them belief. If they have a end of the season where they have a good run, then sometimes you can try to show the boys, like in an off season, you can sit them down, you can say, if you believe in these certain traits, you will get results. And footy players being footy players, they go, yeah. But it's not until they actually see the results where they go, holy shit, this actually works. And I think that if they have a good end of the season, this playing group can go, you know what, like any reluctance we had to fully buy into Des Hasler is gone now, because we bought in, it took us some time, but we got the results. And especially with Tino coming back into this side, especially with Brimo playing some more footy, like they could be in a similar-ish situation to the Bulldogs, where diabolical season overall, as in overall, but Desi Hasler could have been willing to take the early pain and make some really hard calls, you know, when it comes to systems, when it comes to types of training, when it comes to work ethic, and they get the rewards for it long term rather than, you know, taking shortcuts and getting some short-term gain. Yeah.
I would love nothing more than for the Titans to be a week-to-week must-watch next season. How good would it be with Brimo, Keeney, Campbell, these sort of guys, Foz leading them? To be unreal. Boys, I thought Campiera, there's fast guys in this competition and there's lightnings guys, and you can just, those little moments, like he got 2 balls that came his way that were bouncing to him. Just half opportunities, just turns them into.
Well, you watch it, and when it's bouncing to him, you go, oh, there's not enough space there. He's not going to make it. And he just goes, hey.
Even and you'll be able to talk about it more, but when they do come bounce to him, I think, okay, he'll cut back infield. He just goes, no, I'll back myself here.
Just trust his speed.
Yeah.
Just trust his speed. And that's an area of your game I'm glad Desi hasn't tried to. You know, you could have watched last year and, you know, when he plays and you can go, oh, the chip chase and why does he always go for the attacking play? And granted, you've got to round it out to a degree, and there's certain parts of the field where you do certain things, but you also don't want to dim his light. And what his light is his speed. And so you've got to be able to instill enough confidence in him to go, anytime a moment like that happens, you can't have a guy like Campiera hesitating. Because if he hesitates, he loses that moment that gives him the opportunity to use his speed. And that's what I think what Desi's done really well with him, is he hasn't dimmed or roughened away that edge that Campiera has. Like, if you're going to take away the confidence of Campiera, you may as well not have him on the wing. That's what he's there for, is to use his speed.
Yeah, he gave him a little stint, or maybe even 2 stints in reserve grade a little bit earlier in the year, Campiera. So maybe he's kind of like, because he doesn't seem to make that many errors or bad calls, particularly in the last couple of weeks. No errors on the weekend. Yeah, he's had a great last couple of weeks, and discussed at length in the green room about being in the team of the week as well.
Was he leading try scorer?
Yeah, I was just about to say he scored 19 tries in 15 games in a team that's in the bottom 6.
It's crazy. Yeah. And so that's what he is selected for. He's not selected to take shit carries out of his own end, even though he will do that. He's selected when there is literally a minuscule of an opportunity, he's going to take it with speed.
Yeah, I said 2 weeks ago with Campiera that there's going to be games that he's going to have shockers, and you're going to go, you can't possibly pick him again next week. With his upside that we saw on the weekend, you've just got to stick with the bloke. The other mate was just Jaden Campbell. I think hats off to him. We know he can attack, and I've been very concerned about whether or not he can defend in the front line. I'm going to have concerns around his defence in the front line for some time to come if they do keep him at 5'8". But since he's moved there and come up, particularly over the last month or so, he's done a job there. There's a few missed tackles, but again, he was solid on the weekend. And he's had 9 try assists in his last 4 games. When you're dishing out numbers like that, you can afford to let in a try here or there. He's been pretty solid.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can. Oh, look, I'll just speak for myself. I can be guilty of you almost want the perfect player, and you go, well, you focus on the negative of, okay, he's a smaller body, therefore his defense might be an issue, instead of going, but what does that smaller body give you an attack? And if he's scoring more tries than he lets in, if he's providing more tries than he lets in, then it cancels each other out. And I think that, look, granted, it's been a short sample size, and defending in the front line for a whole season is a very different beast. But so far, I think he's passed. He's going to let in a try here or there, but we We just spoke about Nathan Cleary last week, where he led in a couple tries with some of his reads. Now, granted, Cleary's a bloody good defender, but I'm just saying, even one of the greatest ever, sometimes in the halves, you're going to let tries in. And at the moment, I think he's passed with flying colours. I really can't expect more.
I think I'm at the point, mate, where I'm at peace. If I'm not playing Jaden Campbell at 5'8", where am I playing him?
Yeah.
Might not be perfect, but I've got to have as many of these guys on the field as I can.
And he is, like, in attack at 5'8", he is genuinely special, unique. Tell me another 6 that plays like Jaden Campbell.
No one.
Like, genuinely no one.
Anthony Milford, 2015. Electric.
Yeah, so he's been great. And I think that, like, you know, in his defence, like 22 tackles, 4 misses. That's not bad for a half. Like, people go, oh, he had 4 misses. Go and look at a lot of the other halfbacks' performances over the weekend. I think you'll find they've missed 3 to 4 tackles. That's a normal stat.
He's been a lot better than I thought he'd be. Yeah, defensively. Yeah.
So good on him. And like, it's funny because we always talk about how, like, if you're a young fella listening and everyone keeps telling you too small, don't let it get to you. We're guilty of that, thinking that he's too small to be in the front line. Now, granted, it usually does work out that in the front line it might be a little bit different, but he's proven us wrong. He's proved us wrong. But Fodawaker, game of the season by a million miles for me for him. He was huge. And just his energy, you could see the difference in the way he ran, getting to certain points on the field, setting up for the next play. Or even his body language. He had 22 runs, 197 metres, 59 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, 37 tackles, 0 misses in the middle, and 0 errors. I thought Fodawaker was outstanding.
Got up in TPJ's face as well at one point there.
Yeah.
There's a bit of push and shove. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Easily his best game.
65 minutes too for the big bopper.
Yep.
There's probably like a 7-week period after Tino got injured that I wanted a lot more out of him, and if I'm honest, was a little bit disappointed with his performances. But mate, it feels like probably 2 or 3 weeks before Origin, I feel like he turned a corner and he's played great since.
Yeah. Fafita, for most of the game was outstanding, especially in attack. There was that miss right at the start
Terrible
where you
miss
just
on
like,
Bromwich.
holy heckers, just a pure lapse in concentration. Yeah. Because you know, Fafita fully locked in there, jams Bromwich. He's that strong, and so that's just the give and take with Fafita is like in attack, probably the best back row in the competition, like unbelievable. But clearly in defence, sometimes he just switches off. But outside of that moment, I thought he was bloody good.
They don't win that game of football without him yesterday.
No
Second
way.
half, he was tremendous.
Timmy?
Yeah, and that's it. Like, as long as missed tackles like that aren't creeping into Fafita's game week after week. Like I just said, Pat Carrigan, one of the best defenders in the competition, he missed a shocker in the exact same fashion as that this week. It's a one-off. It happens. As long as it doesn't creep back, I'm fine with it. It's going to happen.
So look, great win for the Titans onto the Dolphins. Oh, man. Like, first 20 minutes, absolute well-bitters. I've got to say, that defensive edge with Averillo, Nikodima, I think it's Asako, they are so out of sync. I just think Averillo's decision-making there, maybe it's a confidence thing, whether it's a systems thing, but like his hesitation makes it hard for Asako to make a decision. The amount of times where you'll see Nikodima pick a bloke and go to him, and you'll see Averillo like hesitate, and then once it's too late, then he'll go to the next man rather than just going, all right, Nicodima's in, I'm in as well. That right edge for them is a huge. Is it the right edge? It's right edge, isn't it? Huge problem for him. Huge problem.
Yeah, I felt really confident going into this season that Averillo was going to kick on and have a fantastic season underway, and it was slow to start, and he's really struggling, isn't he? Between errors in his game and just, as you said, defensively, a lot of issues there. I thought they'd get a lot more out of Averillo.
I thought eventually that they would sort that, because that decision-making, it's been part of his game for quite a while. It's probably been the only thing holding him back is his reads in defence. But it is just, you can almost, if you get on their try line or close to it, you can almost guarantee points going down that edge.
Just you sit there and it's like, you look at poor defensive edge defenders and you go, oh, if you put enough time into them like that, they'll work it out. They get it sorted out. It just shows how hard it is. Like, he'd have the best coaches in Australia sitting there, teaching him, working on it week after week. You don't just click your fingers and it happens. Like, some defenders have it naturally and that's terrific. Some it takes years to iron out the chinks in their defence. It's tough to do.
I don't know whether it's like a communication thing, because like you go, like speaking of the Broncos, how poor their edge defensive is, but I just wonder sometimes whether the communication is like early on, just naming. Like I always felt when we got in the hole defensively, we would just communicate early. That's my guy. I've got, ball runner. I got out the back. I got X. And just all of us nailing that immediately. And I know that's up and in defence. If they throw over the top, like actually Katoa did to the Titans, which is a great play, we can work on that. Like that's a big play to make. If we all land on our man and they go over the top, fair enough, let's go back and work on things. But when you become indecisive, like what happened with the Broncos and like what's happening with the Dolphins at times, especially on that right edge, you just get torn apart.
And I think that's the thing that you can't really teach. You can get a lot of repetitions into it over a career and you can get better at things, but it is that defensive decision of a centre where you have a split second to go, do I go up and jam, or in the rest of the side, are we holding firm and are we sliding out? I said, you can't really teach it. It's rugby league IQ and it's rugby league now, so of knowing what to do in that split second, and at the moment, he's getting it wrong too often.
Well, I just wonder whether you go and you look at defensive systems sometimes it becomes a bit too complicated of like, should he jam, should he not jam, should he make that decision? Just take it out of his hands and go, okay, coming out of their end, boys, you guys make the choice in what you think. But whenever they get in our red zone, as in they're attacking our line, just call red. Just call red, call your man out and just get to him. Because how often do we see, like, for example, Penrith Panthers go up against game 2, New South Wales. What did New South Wales do? They just made sure any time the ball got past the Dearden, there was already a New South Wales player there. Same thing with DC, and they just kept coming back inside. Now, granted, it takes a lot of fitness, it takes a lot of work, but I just wonder whether the Dolphins need to, and maybe the coaching staff already is, but I wonder whether they just need to sit down with that edge and go, guys, when they're attacking our good ball, you choose a man, you call it out, and you land on him. If they we'll have good sweeping in behind defence. If they throw that good ball over the top, we'll rely on that in behind defence to get that man. If not, we'll tweak certain things. Because right now, I think when it comes to decision making, it's just not working at the moment.
It's just all over the place. Yeah.
It's not working. So, look, some positives. I thought Herbie Farnworth was friggin' unbelievable. He is a freak. And you got a star-studded Broncos back line, but my God, they miss him. Like, my God, we miss Herbie Farnworth. His ability, the amount of sets where nothing's happening, you're going nowhere, the opposition has line speed and you're under the pump, where he just goes, give me the ball, boys, I'm going to straighten everything up. It's honestly one of the best in the competition at doing it.
He's one of those guys, I don't know if he's been a better signing for the Dolphins or a bigger loss for the Broncos.
Been such a loss for the Broncos. Holy, such a loss.
I think it's going to be one of those games that I hope I'm wrong, but the Dolphins could circle this at the end of the season and go, that's one that cost us final spot, just because their run home is so difficult. Like they go Roosters, Warriors, Bulldogs, Storm, Broncos round 26. God knows what that one's going to throw up into the night. It's a very tough run. They're probably going to need to jag an upset there somewhere, but 2 points that got away from them here.
I'm just talking off vibe. I don't have any numbers here, but I'd love to see the Dolphins, their second half numbers over the last 6 weeks. It feels like they have sort of fallen into a heap on a few occasions.
The call on Herbie Farnworth was outrageous, in my opinion, where they called him for an obstruction. He passed the ball, kept running, and then he just touched Foran, but Foran still had the opportunity to get in the tackle, and also Foran was milking it. Like, that's ridiculous, in my opinion. That was actually a ridiculous call.
But the players know that if you milk it enough, you'll get it. There was one in the Sharks game. I think it was Itero that was coming across. There was a bit of contact, but he pushed through. And I watched it there and went, fuck, if I'm a coach, I'd probably tell him to fall over there.
Yeah.
Because it probably gets called back.
I thought Bostock was good again, especially in attack.
A little bit unlucky there. A bit of clever play from him, kind of just going over play the ball. Little bobble, got called back, but I thought he did a pretty good job to get that down. He's very impressive. He's been one of the most improved players this year.
Max Psychoplath, 52 tackles, only 1 miss, getting through a lot of work in the middle there. I thought Hammer had some good moments as well. But, they've just got to find a way to it's 80 minutes of footy for them. If they can they win a comp when they play their best? Probably not. Can they literally worry every side in the competition if they play their best? Absolutely they can. Absolutely. That first 20 minutes was like watching Katoa just absolutely tear them apart. It's just a matter of they've got to do it for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Got to do it for 80 minutes. Alrighty, on to the next game. Raiders v. the Rabbitohs. What a important win for the Raiders because they find themselves in 9th spot. It is such a testament to their grittiness that they find themselves in 9th spot when they've had their key guy, like for a side that already has a spine that is a spine that's learning, that's got rookies and players out of position and all that stuff. For them to just find themselves in 9th spot is amazing. But then also Fogarty to come back, it just shows you the importance of a good 7. It doesn't matter how good your forward pack is. It doesn't matter how good almost your whole roster is. If you don't have a bloke to steer you around, you're done. You're done.
Yeah. Like when the Raiders signed Fogarty, there was a lot of hype around it, and I was sort of sitting there going, he's a good signing, exactly what we need, a bit of experience in the halves, especially with a few younger blokes coming through. But I was like, he's not a well beater. And look, he's still not a well beater, but his stocks in the last couple of weeks since coming back from injury have just gone through the roof for me, how important he is to this team. Like, we've just looked rudderless at times, and I know KO Weeks made their move to fullback earlier, but just having young, inexperienced halves and a couple of ball running sort of 5'8" in weeks and Strange there for a while, we look lost. He comes back in and we just look like a calmer side. We've got direction. Guru will touch on it soon because we spoke about it off air, but his kicking game's just come on leaps and bounds. His stocks have gone through the roof.
Absolutely through the roof. And I was exactly the same. When they first signed him, there was a lot of hype, and I sort of went, geez, I don't know if he has that much impact realistically. Seeing him come back and just the direction he gives them, but his kicking game, it's improved out of sight.
So I think kick meters, Katoa's at the top by a substantial margin, but I think he's in the top, definitely top 10, maybe even top 8, and he's barely played, what has he played, 10 games?
Yeah.
And he's in the top 10 kicking meters.
That's how he even have 10. Yeah.
And he's on the weekend, on the weekend, they won 32-12. So think about that. They weren't under the pump, field position, blah, blah, blah. He still kicked for 591 metres.
Well, I always see the best. So he had 10 bombs, 19 kicks, 10 of them were bombs, and he's just nailed this midfield bomb. Even if it's from his 35-40, he just puts up this big torp in midfield bomb. It's always annoyed me when players like Burton or even GI did it back in the day. They had this boot on them, put it up and make a contest of them, and they do it maybe once a game. It's just Jamal's go-to now. He puts it up every time, and he's making contest, and we're getting results off the back of it. Because the concern there is, if you mishit it and the distance isn't on it, they're attacking from their 40 or whatever. But he just backs and smokes it every time, and he's getting the distance to go with a torpedoing bomb.
He had a couple of those big floater ones as well yesterday, and in feels like -5 conditions there at Canberra Stadium. Pretty tough to hang on to them.
Off the back of what you just said, Kempy, as far as kick meters go this year, is the only player in the top 10 to have played less than 12 games. He's played 9 and he's in 8th place.
So on average, he's the most by a long, long way.
So what's his average compared to the second best average?
Not counting Adam Cook's 2 games, he's actually the most, but cancelling him, Jamal Fogarty's averaged 574 metres a game. The next best is SJ with 498.
So it's basically 100 metres, essentially 100 metres. Far out.
On average, he's kicking 100 metres more per game than Mitch Moses.
And Mitch Moses just won a bloody Origin series on it. Unbelievable. That's where I look at a guy like Fogarty and I go surely there are other 7s in New South Wales and Queensland Cup that are 26, 27 years old that are better, not better because we've got some young guns coming through, but if you're a club and you're looking at this young gun and you're going, okay, we've got him on a 3 or 4 year deal. He's probably not ready for first grade, but we don't have anyone else because we signed him. Surely it'd be good to bring in an older guy to mentor the younger fella and just wait until he's ready, because I do think that some 7s get brought in too early and that first year or two just scars them, where it almost smashes their confidence, and then it takes them another 2 or 3 years to get that back. And you look at Fogarty, who, he was really good in Q Cup, but he was wasn't he 26 or 27 before he got moved to the Titans? Took him a long time.
It's a balance that so many NRL clubs seem to struggle with, that you're either bringing halves in too early or you're not willing to be patient enough with them. It's such a little sweet spot that he's hit it perfectly.
Just so good for the Raiders. In regards to other performances for the Raiders, obviously Hudson Young. Like, geez, what I love about Hudson Young is he's taken that dropping personal. Not in a way where he's like angry at the team or the selectors or whatever, but in the way of he's going to let his actions do his talking and say, nah, I should have been there and I am good enough to be an Origin player. And granted, they still won the series and, you know, all the selections were correct. What I love is Hudson Young's gone, I'm not going to sook and I'm not going to be like, oh, they won it without me or whatever. I'm still going to go out there and show you why I'm one of the best edge back rows in the competition.
He just picked out Cody Walker and went at him all night, didn't he? Absolutely terrorised Cody.
You just get you so many different ways in attack Hudson Young.
So many different ways.
He's as strong as an ox. He runs an awesome line. He's such a high energy back row as well. Like, if he gets a sniff where he can go from dummy half himself or do anything, every time there's a kick go through, his kick chase is outstanding, particularly in behind the line, the amount of balls he dives on. He's got a great offload. He's got a bit of ball playing about.
Fitness is underrated too.
So fit. Like, he plays 80 minutes each and every week, and there's never a moment where you're, lazy from Hudson or this or that. Exceptional football.
Like, honestly, the only knock on him is sometimes he's too aggressive in defence where he'll shoot up or he'll be trying to put a shot on. Like, that's literally, if your knock is you're too aggressive and you're too aggressive but you're not getting 7 for 10, like, that's a bloody good knock to have in rugby league. Yeah. He was outstanding. So his stats, he had a try assist, 23 ones, 207 metres, 72 post contact, 10 tackle breaks, a line break assist, and 3 offloads. Just a massive knock from Hudson Young, a massive knock. What about Elliot Whitehead getting sent 10 in the bin at the end there? My God. Oh. Who else stood out for you boys?
We gave him a wrap in Team of the Week, but I thought Tommy Starling, mate, finally gets his opportunity to play decent minutes, and it almost sounds like it's been accidental over the last few weeks that it's played out that way, but he's going great guns, and I think that we all have felt this way with Tommy for a long time, that he just needs the opportunity.
I've always looked at Tom Starling and said, okay, over the last couple of years, who's the best hooker at the club? I think we'd all agree Starling. But then we go, okay, he's a little bit smaller. Can you play him for 80? Will he get spotted? But I think, again, you're focusing on the negative. Let's focus on the positive. And ever since he got put in that 9 role, you guys look and in playing longer minutes, you look completely different.
He's just a tear down version of Damien Cook to me. And you sit there and you go, he's small, he plays in the middle, like he's been playing big minutes, and you go, can he handle it? As you said, Campy, he's awesome defensively. Like, he jams blokes. He doesn't miss many, certainly doesn't miss many important tackles. And, like, he's quick out of dummy half. He's got a great running game. And we've chopped and changed between hookers, between Wolford and Levi and Starling for a few years now. And a lot of that hasn't been forced change with injuries or anything. They just do it and they chop and change. But he's looked terrific since he's got these big minutes.
Well, I mean, it's funny because you've chopped and changed between Wolford, Levi, and yet the whole time Starling has kept his bench spot.
He's been there, yeah.
I think just stick with him at least for the rest. Give him an opportunity, and then also let him train there the whole preseason. Like, maybe beef him up a little, not too much, but just a little bit. Because, that could answer a lot of problems for you. Just a good 9 that fits Ricky Stewart's system, that Stewart loves. He knows he's a battler.
He's got points in him, though. Like, he's got attack in him.
How old is Starling? How old is he?
26.
So plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. Really, really good win. And it's such a testament to the club. Like, 9th place right now. 9th place. It's just mate, so good, so good. I mean, the Raiders really do represent what rugby league's all about. You know, just the battler, playing above your weight and, almost the underdog no matter what you do. What a bloody good club. Onto the Rabbitohs. Look, to be honest, my tip last week wasn't off form, wasn't off ability, wasn't off players on paper. It was genuinely, season's over, 6 o'clock in Canberra. Literally couldn't get any worse as a footy player. Freezing cold, nothing to play for against a Raiders side who still has something to play for, and also they're just tough. Like, they're just tough. And I just thought, you watch the Rabbitohs play and like, the season's over. I know fans don't like to hear this, but the players are human. I guarantee we're going to see a game before the end of the year where it's a great track, the beautiful weather, and we're going to see the Rabbitohs turn up and absolutely bloody rip and tear. This was one where, unless the game went their way early on, I just didn't see it happening.
And it certainly didn't go their way early on. Got away from them very quickly. That Raiders left edge was humming, taking on the South Sydney right edge there. Mate, I walked away from this game just devastated for AJ.
Yeah.
Absolutely devastated. Obviously, an Achilles injury like that could have impacted his speed coming back. I think he's 19 tries away from that record. I think the reality is last time Wayne was at the club, he was happy to shop him around. So, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, the old Achilles rupture. It's long term, isn't it? Like I think 5, 6, 7, 8 months sort of time.
Speed is his thing.
Yeah,
power from the Achilles, but science is good now. Be a travesty, an absolute travesty.
He come and break the record at the Tigers. Bit of history. Come on down.
Yeah, devastated for him for sure. Look, I mean, we're given our weekly wrap. This is key on stats on the weekend. 30 runs, 243 metres, 69 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 41 tackles and offload, and only 2 misses. And he played 80 minutes.
Yeah, without being Debbie Downer, shout out to Mum. That one missed tackle he had, I think it was on Mariota, was it? He would be filthy with himself on that.
Mate, when you're taking 30 carries in a game, I'll give you one missed tackle.
For 10 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I'll give you a missed tackle.
Geez, he's going to enjoy the off-season, isn't he? The big fella.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably going to have to go play rep footy for another 80 minutes.
Yeah, true.
Look, I think like he probably will eventually get back to that edge spot, but mate, him in the middle is so good. He is so good. I can't believe the motor he has. We're talking 80 minutes here, and he's as big as most front rowers, and he's the
quality of work over 80 minutes. Like, it just never seems to lapse.
It's seriously, like, it's incredible. 30 runs as a basically a front rower. When's the last time you saw a front rower have 30 runs? Like,
that's outrageous.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Any other positives?
Feel kind of bad pointing out that one missed tackle.
It's kind of a bit harsh, to be honest. 30 runs, 260 metres. Anyone else seen that for you boys?
Tallis Duncan. Starting to see what we've been talking about for a while. I know he's not perfect, but I think they've got to stick with him. I just think there's so much ability there. There's other guys in this side like, Michael Cheekham and Jacob Host. They keep picking these guys in front of him on the edge. I think they just got to lean into Tallis.
Well, Cam Murray returns this week. He'll obviously play on one edge. You've got Jacob Host there, who you know what you're going to get from him. Nothing's going to change. Your season's done. You've got Cheekham centre, who's obviously been playing edge. Johnson will be out. Richie Kenner will come back in there. But just stick with Tallis. See what he can see what he can do for the rest of the season. Give him an extended stint at it. Because if he makes that position his own and he thrives as we sort of, we're fans of him, solves another headache for you next year.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you get to round one next year, Host will do a job, Cheekham will do a job. Tallis Duncan, he's the one with the upside.
Yeah, gets him reps into him towards the end of the year. Like, just looking at the ladder really quick, because obviously you don't want to win the spoon. Rabbitohs in 20 points, so they're not winning the spoon. So I reckon whatever rookie that you're going, could they be in the starting side next year, or at least in the starting 17? Just get minutes into him. Get as many minutes into him as you can.
Well, Mamazelis is the interesting one now that you got to put a line through their season. It's hard, because Cookie deserves a farewell of playing his big minutes and all that, but there's got to be a point where you start. He's played big minutes in recent weeks. Obviously, Cookie's shifted out wide at stages, but there's got to be a point where you go, we need to get some bigger minutes into Peter Mamazelis.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Cookie, instead of playing 80 minutes, you play 50 minutes.
Yeah, he'll get it.
He'll get it. He'll understand it. And, you're still playing. You're still playing. So, yeah, I just think it's an opportunity, especially Tallis Duncan, because he's so rough around the edges. He really is. There are parts of his game you go, okay, if he just fix this. And the only way he's going to fix that is playing NRL. It's not going to be training. It's not going to be pre-seasons. It's going to be playing first grade. So,
quick one on Tallis Duncan. Did he play half a game in headgear and half a game not?
It's a superstition.
What's going on? I feel like every game
he does it.
Every game, yep.
Runs out.
What's the thinking?
I don't know. I think it's just superstition.
So
I've heard two different stories in the past week. I don't know what's true. Apparently, they said on commentary last night that his mum always wanted him to wear a headgear, but he didn't want to, so he always started the game with it and throw it off, and he's just kept it. I hope that's the one. The other one I heard from somewhere was that his his hair's really thick, so he gets really hot. But I wouldn't be taking my headgear off in Canberra last night. So yeah, I'd probably go with the mum one.
Okay, there you go. There you go. There's an insight from Matty the Water Boy. Like that.
No,
I just saw it on social media.
I'm joking.
I saw his old man at the start of the year at a South game in his CBA t-shirt that we gave him.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Loves it. Loves it.
Headgear on or off for his dad?
Yeah, so look, disappointing obviously from the Rabbitohs, but not really much to talk about because, the season's over. And it kind of has been for quite a while. I know that there was a chance they could have gone on a bit of a run. I mean, we could talk about, players that played poorly, but it's like, to what end, really? Like, them at full strength. Like, this side right now is nowhere near what them at full strength is next year is going to be.
Probably the last one I would just mention is just Jai Gray, mate. 26 runs, 250 metres, 5 tackle breaks. Kid has a red-hot crack every single week.
He's one is going to be not similar to Tedesco, but it's just the ball playing he's really going to need to improve because, and I don't necessarily mean the passing of the ball, but just about around the back, being able to create tries with your ball playing. Because I just think in today's game, you can't just be a good ball running fullback. Not to suggest that that's just what he is, but in the short spances that I've watched him, it's funny. I shouldn't compare him to Latrell Mitchell, but Latrell Mitchell on the field runs for 70 metres, but he creates probably 3 or 4 tries a game. And I think with Jai Gray is in the off season, this off season coming, I think the biggest thing he can work on is how can I be a player that has that incredible running game, incredible fitness, incredible ticker, but also a player that can create points with my hands. I think that's the biggest thing for him to work on. Look, that's natural. Every rookie comes into the game with really strong parts of his game and things to work on. But when it comes to purely his running ability in NRL, it's already at an NRL standard. And that is really, really promising. Really promising.
Interesting to see where in the off-season or even in the back end of the season when Latrell's back, if you spend any time in the halves, obviously played a lot of time at 5'8", a few question marks around the halves. Obviously it looks like Jack and Cody probably moving forward. But the reality is Jai Gray isn't playing NRL while Latrell Mitchell's fit. So
you go Jai Gray at 6 and you go and you go Whiten and Campbell Graham in the centres maybe? Maybe.
Don't mind it.
Just depends on whether Whiten can get the ball. Geez, I'm super interested to see what Wayne does with this roster because there are actually quite a few different things that Wayne could change up. You got young fellas coming in from, you got Humphreys, you got the English Dodds, you've obviously got the Keon situation who is literally one of the best forwards in the middle but may play on the edge. You've got Jairo, where to see. Oh, geez, there's so many different things that could change. So, yeah, disappointing for the Rabbitohs, but it's been a disappointing year. All right, time to face the music with some tips.
Round 22.
Brought to you by Sportsbet.
Thursday night, Tigers versus the Cowboys at Leichhardt. Now, we all know what happened last time. Tigers played the Cowboys at Leichhardt, one of the greatest days of my life, including being named the Strong Pilates Alexandria Member of the Month. So it's going to be a hell of a game out there. $3.40 the West Tigers. The Cowboys $1.32. Line 10.5 points.
Cowboys, 10.5, you say?
10.5. No Stafford Tower. I can hear Val Holmes breathe a sigh of relief in Townsville from here.
Cowboys are 2-11 at this ground. They had a terrible, terrible record.
I'm going to go 10.5, did you say? Cowboys.
Yeah, 10.5 can't be enough, can it? Surely. Cowboys.
I was going to follow you boys, but I think with just Cotter and Taumalolo both probably out. Well, Cotter definitely out. Taumalolo probably out. I'll go Cowboys to win, Tigers to cover.
Is Galvin playing?
Big question mark. Probably not.
Yeah. I'll stick to it. Cowboys win.
Yeah, I'll go Cowboys, Tigers.
I'm going to have to go Cowboys Tigers as well. I'd love to see a repeat of last year, but let's be honest. Friday night we got the Warriors $1.26, the Eels $3.90, the David Kidwell Cup 11.5. The line at Mount Smart sold out.
Warriors.
What's the start?
11.5.
I'll go Warriors Eels.
Just announced, Warriors have become the first team in NRL history to sell out every game of the season.
Wow.
Incredible.
Warriors.
Warriors Eels for me. The other Friday night game over in Perth, Dolphins 350 against the Roosters $1.31, 9.5 the line in that one.
Roosters.
Yep.
Roosters, Dolphins.
Ooh. You have a bit of a soft spot for the Finns, don't you? Roosters.
Like you.
Roosters.
Roosters. I think they win.
You just hate the Finns. I think that's the problem. He's normal. You hate the Finns.
Bit of value in this game. First game of Super Saturday. The Titans $3 when they host the Broncos $1.40, 7.5 the line.
Broncos Titans.
I'm going to sniff a little upset here. I'll go Broncos Titans as well.
Broncos Titans.
Broncos.
Titans for me.
Ooh.
Upset with $3.
That's brave. I like it.
This is an enormous line in this one down in Melbourne. The Storm $1.10, Winks-like against the Dragons $7, 18.5 is the line.
Storm Dragons.
Storm Dragons.
Storm.
Oh,
Storm Dragons.
Storm
I hate the
Dragons
Dragons
for me.
so much, bro.
I just rate the Storm's attack, mate. I also don't rate the Dragons that much.
Sharkies $1.33 host the Rabbitohs $3.34, 9.5 is the line at Shark Park.
Oh, man.
This could be that sort of Saturday evening.
Saturday evening.
Could be that kind of game you were talking about though, where they just come out and
have a bit of fun. I'll go Sharkies Rabbits.
Yeah, Sharks, Rabbits.
I'm sniffing a rabbit upset.
Sharks.
Rabbits.
Yeah, Sharks Rabbits for me as well. Penrith $1.21 host the Knights $4.45, 13.5 is the line. Bit of chat that Jackson Hastings might potentially be dropped for this one.
Yeah, Panthers.
Panthers.
Yeah, Panthers for me as well. And then out at Belmore, Canterbury $1.38, the Raiders $3.06, 8.5 is the line.
Bulldogs Raiders.
Bulldogs Raiders.
Dogs.
Jeez, Timmy.
Oh my God,
the
that
Raiders
is
so much.
unbelievable from you. That is unbelievable.
My
Wow.
tipping form at the moment, don't doubt me.
Dogs.
How'd you go this week?
Second.
Celebrating seconds, unbelievable.
No, the Dogs are unreal on the weekend.
They were very good. That's it. That's round 21.
That's Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Make sure 6 p.m. tonight, the Gurus hats are dropping. Grab a case of Bloke beer from your local. Give the boys a follow. And as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.